Hi guys, ready for today's recap of The Male Lead Monster Lives Under My Bed? Hit subscribe and let's go! Someone approaches Irina and asks her to take something. The girl is completely shocked and doesn't understand what they're talking about. The interlocutor calmly replies that he brought this trophy as a gift and wonders if there is something wrong with it. The protagonist smiles and says everything is fine. But in her mind, she doubts she can be honest. She realizes that after her reincarnation, her life has become much harder. Now she lives in a world of intrigue, kidnapping, and conspiracies. This world is exhausted by war and saturated with lust. This is a novel about the cruel and hopeless love of the Archduke of the cold northern lands called The Secret. The protagonist's name is Ruslan Alexeyev. He is the youngest master of sword and magic in the entire empire. But there was something that made him very different from the rest. This guy loved to bully Kay, the novel's main character. He covered it up with love, and from the outside they looked like the perfect couple from a romantic novel. But not everyone is destined to live happily ever after. Duke Sorty appears, dreaming of taking the throne and ruling the world, and he decides to get rid of Ruslan. He had neither magic nor talent for fencing, so the man decided to make a contract with the demon. To gain new power, he sacrifices his own children. Ultimately, he transforms into a colossal demon and completely loses his mind. But Ruslan's love for Kay proves stronger than anything else. They overcome all challenges, and Kay thinks, "Isn't that wonderful?" Now she understands that she thought this way only until she found herself in Irina Sorty's body. Not only is her father forcing her into a marriage of convenience, but a terrible ending awaits her. She will be plunged into eternal sleep at the hands of her own brother. At least, that's what was written in the novel. Now the girl apologizes and says she doesn't want to fall into eternal sleep. The young man wonders if she didn't like his gift. Irina realizes she's lost in thought and forgotten to answer. She says it's not like that, but in her mind, she wonders who gives demon heads anyway. She regrets that such an answer could cost her life, and she justifies herself by saying that they are simply too big. The guy just smiles and asks Irina to extend her hand to him. Irina wonders why this is necessary, but her interlocutor asks her to do it faster. She agrees and wonders what else he has prepared. At that moment, he places something blue in her palms. Irina asks what it is. The answer is that it's slime found along the way. The girl, puzzled, says, "I see," and realizes it's also a demon. The blonde asks if something's bothering her. The main character smiles and replies that everything is fine. She even likes this slime. It's so soft and gentle. The guy asks again if it's true, turns around and says he's glad she liked it. Irina thanks him, and the young man, heading for the door, says that it's time for him to go. As he leaves, the main character grumbles that he could have taken the rest of the freaks too. Then she lies down on the bed and decides that she will clean up these heads herself later. The girl thinks about how hard it is to live in another world and is glad that she knows exactly where she ended up. Irina understands that knowledge of the plot is her main advantage, and she will be able to change everything. Let the vile Duke go away, because she will get out of here and live happily. Suddenly, she notices that the slime in her hand has moved and wonders if it is because of emotions. She decides that he calms her down because it feels so nice to touch him. Suddenly, the girl jumps out of bed and gets angry because why didn't she reincarnate in the main character's body? Yes, she would have to marry Ruslan, but then she would be in no danger. She thinks about her bad luck and asks out loud why she ended up in Irina's body. Then the girl pulls herself together and decides to stop being jealous. Now, when she's in danger, she needs to think only of herself. The first point of the plan is that until adulthood, you can simply turn a blind eye to everything. She will marry the main character, quickly file for divorce, take her share of the money, and run away. Then she will find herself a cute, handsome man and will live happily, although she would like to touch Ruslan's lips at least once. At that moment, the slime in her hand reacts sharply and jumps out. Irina wonders if he's alive, while the slime hides under the bed. She doesn't understand what happened. The girl gets off the bed and asks him to get out, promising that she will not harm him. She asks if she squeezed him too hard, but notices that the creature has turned red. Irina wonders if it was because of her words and the mention of the kiss that he was so embarrassed. She extends her hand and says that she will not talk about it anymore, so he can go out. The girl finally gets the slime and wonders how strange it is and whether slimes are really intelligent. She asks if he understands her, and the creature jumps in response. Irina is surprised, but before she can say anything else, another lady enters the room. She announces that everything is ready and asks Irina to leave, and then screams in horror because of the demons. She also asks what the girl is doing on the floor, Irina replies that she's doing nothing and asks if she can come out. The woman says yes, but she needs to hurry. Irina realizes she doesn't know she was locked in, so she follows her, and on the way she realizes that Irina is being treated with disdain. But everything turned out to be even worse. The girl quietly turns to the slime and asks it not to come out. Soon, one of the ladies announced that they had arrived. Opening the door, Irina saw her mother. She coldly declares that Lady Irina is late. The maid remarks that they've waited so long that they've almost eaten everything. Another maid adds that there are still some left, so there is no need to worry. The main character thinks that she was not even warned about the lunch and that she was deliberately called later. If she were the real Irina, she would be offended, but personally it doesn't bother her. She picks up a spoon. Suddenly, someone knocks it out of her hands. The woman says the spoon was held incorrectly. She reproaches the girl for not training at all and doubts whether she is worthy of the Sortie family. The woman pushes the plate away and states that the lady is full, handing the food to Bella. Irina says that she didn't even have time to eat. But in response, she hears that it seemed different to her. The woman adds that Mary put too much food in and she'll deal with it. Irina doesn't understand what she's talking about. She is then told that lunchtime is over and the lady seems to have forgotten about it. The main character grits her teeth, realizing she hasn't eaten a single bite. The woman leaves, citing business. Irina stays with another lady and gets angry. The red-haired girl apologizes and says she didn't know Irina had already eaten. She claims that Rose does everything for her own good and that the maids take care of the health of their masters. Irina understands that she would say a few harsh words to her, but then Rosa would definitely not remain silent, so she has to endure it. At this moment, the slime in the pocket starts to get angry and suddenly jumps out. It lands right on the woman's face, and she screams in horror. Irina, in shock, says that this is not possible, but sees that the girl has lost consciousness. The slime sitting on her seems to smile, then jumps off. Irina is amazed and wonders if it has developed eyes. She feels as if the creature is seeking praise. As she watches it, she wonders if it's telling her she can trust it. The lady on the floor starts to move, and Irina is afraid that she has woken up and might notice the slime. She thinks about turning it off again, but at that moment it gets up and doesn't understand why it's lying on the floor. Irina whispers to the slime to hide behind her and says that the lady simply reached for the tray and fell. The redhead is hesitant, but Irina hands over the tray and says that she scared her by asking if anything hurt. The girl decides that this is strange and says that she needs to tidy herself up, asking Irina to return to the room. Upon returning, the protagonist realizes it was the perfect crime. Later, she sits in her room, thinking about the slime and the questions. Irina wonders if slimes can erase memories, but as she lies down, she decides it's unlikely. They are the lowest of the demons, but she still thinks this one is special. The slime makes sounds. The girl smiles and says that he understands her and that she got a slime that is too smart. In any case, she thanks him for today. When the slime turns around, Irina wonders if he can really dance. She continues to be amazed by his skills and remembers that she's seen completely different slimes before. She wants to find out more about him, but she is kept locked up, and it is not so easy to get into the library unless you sneak in. Lying on the bed, she complains about how hungry she is because she didn't get a single bite. Irina is angry and thinks that starving her is too much. She grumbles that she doesn't even have the strength to be angry and asks the slime if he is hungry too. Looking up, she realizes he's gone. After a while, Irina smells a familiar scent. She thinks it's mushroom soup with champignons and pasta with shrimp and tomato sauce. Slime brings in a tray of food and makes happy noises. The main character watches with delight. She thinks the slime is the best demon in the world, wishes bon appetit, and starts eating. Irina says it's so delicious she's about to cry and calls the slime her benefactor. After finishing her meal, she says she's full, hugs the slime, and asks where he got so wonderful. The creature responds joyfully with sounds and jumps out of her hands. He heads to the window again and soon returns with desserts that leave Irina in shock. She can't believe her eyes and says that now they will always be friends. While tasting the dessert, the girl admits that she can't believe she's eating this. Noticing that the slime is reaching for the book, Irina wonders with interest what he has planned this time. He silently takes the pen, and the girl wonders if he is really going to write something. When the slime finishes, the main character asks what exactly he wrote and if she can see it. Taking the note, Irina sees one word, friend, and asks in surprise if that is really what he wrote. Then she is amazed that he can also write, because then he is a real genius. Irina looks at the paper and realizes that everyone in this house hates her, but it seems that even she can have a friend. She says with a smile that she is counting on him, but adds that it is dangerous for him to be around all the time. As the slime hugs her finger, Irina doubts it's listening. If the Duke notices it, the consequences will be dire. Slime shows something else, and the girl wonders if he's hinting that he can be trusted. She agrees to trust him, but only if he proves it, and suggests going to the library together. After a little while, Irina approaches the building and notices how quiet it is there. She offers the slime to hide, and he immediately agrees. Entering inside, the girl is amazed by the size of the library, but notices that the employee is clearly tense by her appearance. When the man gets up from his chair, Irina wonders if he is going to report her visit. If the Duke asks, she will say that she was looking for information about Ruslan's family. Looking through the list of hired demons, she realizes that there is unlikely to be information about slimes there. The story of the war with the demons also does not give her the answers she needs. Her gaze falls on a book about the war hero, Archduke Alexiev, and Irina realizes that this is her future husband. As she flips through the pages, she quietly notices that he has both power and money. When the slime gives a signal, the girl whispers for it to hide and gently nudges it. Continuing her search, she finds a dictionary of northern demons from slimes to golems, and realizes that this is exactly what she needs. Looking at the shelf, Irina thinks about how to reach it. She is about to call the librarian, but sees that he is completely immersed in his work and understands that it is useless. The girl is wondering what to do next, and suddenly she hears the slime's voice. Irina wonders if he can really help, but she doesn't understand what exactly he means. She wonders how such a baby could possibly be useful, and feels a strange, tense atmosphere. Turning around, Irina sees a blonde man in front of her, who asks what she is doing here and screams in surprise. The guy smiles and asks if he's really that scary, and Irina replies that it's not that. She explains that she wanted to learn more about the slime he gave her, and was looking for a suitable book. The young man notices that she really seems to like the gift. Irina agrees and says that he is very sweet, wondering since when the guy is so polite to her. The guy thinks about something and quietly notices that the slime didn't smell of red liquid, unlike himself. Irina asks again, not having heard, but he replies that he has wanted to ask this for a long time. He asks if she likes demons. Irina replies no, and then he asks about the discarded diamonds. The girl doesn't understand what they're talking about because she's never seen anything like it. The guy wonders if she didn't receive them and if the maid didn't pass anything on. Irina is amazed and wonders if they really decided to steal even her diamonds. She asks if he gave them to the maid and receives an affirmative answer. Irina says with tears that it seems she took everything for herself, since nothing was given to her. The guy frowns and is indignant at how the servants dared to go against him. He is going to sort it out immediately, but Irina asks him to wait. The young man turns around and asks what she just called him. Irina is frightened, thinking that she was mistaken, and now she will be plunged into eternal sleep. She tries to justify herself, but ends up calling him brother again. The guy asks why she detained him, and Irina asks to get the dictionary of northern demons from the top shelf. He agrees and says with a smile that his brother will help, because it's easy for him to reach. He even offers to carry the books, but Irina mentally asks him to stop. Soon he places several books in front of her, and asks if this is all. Irina thanks him, and adds that she wanted to say thank you for the slime too. The guy jokes that next time he'll catch a bigger slime, but Irina asks him not to do that. He becomes embarrassed and is about to say something, but they are interrupted. A maid comes into the room and rudely addresses Irina, calling her lazy. Noticing the young gentleman, the maid greets him, but the guy turns around abruptly. He asks how she dared to enter without knocking and if she has gone crazy. The young man makes it clear that Irina is her mistress and does not want to listen to excuses. He decides to gather all the servants, despite the maid's apologies. The maid gets scared and runs away to carry out the order, and the guy turns to Irina. The girl is surprised, and he says that he will deal with the servants and she can rest. When he leaves, Irina is amazed at how much Valentin values her and hopes that he will avenge her. She says that she did something nasty, and her heart is happy, and the slime rubs itself against her hand in agreement. Irina laughs and decides that calling him just a slime is wrong, like calling a person a person. She thinks about the name and suggests an option, but realizes that it is too obvious. Lying on the bed, she suggests the name Miyakish because he is so soft. Irina is surprised that he likes any of her ideas, and the slime beeps happily. She decides that she should think about the name later, but for now she can read a book. Upon opening it, Irina immediately sees a note about the strongest slime in the world. She is surprised that it is already written about on the first page. The book says that slimes are of the lowest rank, but can become higher by spending all their power. There are rumors that some of them eat other demons and copy them, but this has not been proven. There is still too little information, and Irina strokes the slime, wondering who he is. She offers to exchange secrets and says that she can only trust him with hers. But, as she was about to speak, Irina heard footsteps and asked the slime to hide. Valentin bursts into the room holding a red-haired lady who demands to be let go. He asks Irina what to do with this thief while she makes excuses. Valentin orders her to shut up because he is talking to his sister. The woman is indignant and says that he is violating the Duke's will. The guy coldly asks if she bothered her father to. He pulls her closer and says that she clearly doesn't understand the situation. While father is away, he is the boss here, and he will make a decision after his sister's words. Valentin asks Irina to tell him if this woman did anything to her. Irina recalls how she did not consider her a person, despite her high status. The lady thought that she would get away with everything, because the old Irina could not resist. But that's in the past, and Irina asks if she really considers herself innocent. She says she was treated unfairly and was not given any stones, so she took the gifts for herself and now wants to make her out to be a liar. With tears in her eyes, Irina says that this is too much, realizing that the best defense is a good offense. The woman realizes that the situation is bad, and if she does not act, the consequences will be dire. She screams that it's a lie, but Valentin slaps her. The redhead is shocked, and the guy says that he is doing to her the same thing that she did to his sister. He promises to show this to the rest of the servants and warns of the worst outcome. The woman threatens, but Valentin grabs her hand and says that she will be the only one who will feel sorry for her. He says goodbye to Irina, but suddenly stops, remembering something. Valentin asks if she wants anything. Irina, smiling, asks what he means. She says that she would be glad to receive any gift from her brother. The guy smiles and promises to find something she will definitely like, and then leaves. Irina smiles, takes out the slime, and asks if it smells the sweet scent of victory. Previously, she was afraid of Valentin because of his gifts, but now he helped her out a lot. She thinks that she was wrong to think badly of him, because he clearly values her. Slime makes a strange gesture, and Irina tries to understand what it means. She asks if he really understands everything she says, and the slime responds with a sound. Irina smiles and decides that now he is ready to listen to her secret. The lady admits that she actually came from another world, and does not understand how she ended up here. Although she looks like Irina, she's not her. The lady had simply read a novel with a similar plot and never imagined it would turn out this way. The slime rubs against her hand, and the protagonist wonders if it is trying to comfort her. The girl says that he is really kind, the baby smiles, and she calls him a real cutie. She is glad that she has him and promises that if she gets rich, she will definitely take care of him. The lady says it's a nice dream and asks if it's true. When the slime takes her finger, she thinks it wants to hear the rest of the story. Stories about how she ended up in the book. But the girl admits she doesn't know how to tell it to such a young child. Slime reveals that he is already an adult, and the main character asks in surprise if he is talking about himself now. She agrees to tell him, but asks him not to be afraid. This world is actually a novel for adults. It's full of all sorts of obscenities. The slime points at the lady and makes a strange sound. The main character understands the question and cautiously asks if this is what he is asking about. Hearing another sound, she replies that no, because she was quiet and even avoided political disputes. She adds that after she falls into eternal sleep, the main characters will meet and the kidnapping plot will begin. Ruslan will decide to keep Kay by his side, and true love will be revealed through suffering. The slime seems to ask if she wants to be kidnapped, and the girl honestly answers that she does. She says that many people like it because you don't have to work, you are taken care of, and you can live in a luxurious room. She would like such confinement, but only if everything happens by consent. It is important to distinguish fantasy from reality, and the girl becomes embarrassed to talk about it. When the slime pats her hand, she smiles and says that he is old enough now. She asks if he would like to kiss like the main character, and the slime immediately becomes embarrassed. The girl laughs, noticing how he blushed, and teases that he is still a baby. She falls onto the bed, sighs, and says that if she were the main character, she would be with Ruslan. Slime asks her if she likes him, and she says yes, because he is strong and handsome. The girl assures that Ruslan could defeat any demon, and the slime immediately declares that he is also strong. The main character looks at him in surprise, and then starts laughing. Slime doesn't understand what's happening, and she's choking with laughter and asking him to wait. He is embarrassed and almost cries, and the girl apologizes and says that she is not laughing at him. She assures that he is very cool and even better than Ruslan, but she will still marry him. Slime asks what it means to go out, looking at the lady. The girl explains that this is when two people become very close. Seeing his reaction, she gets scared, and the slime suddenly runs away. He jumps out the window, and the main character looks out and asks him to wait. At this moment, one of the knights asks what the noise is and whether someone was shouting. Another replies that it is probably a hallucination from lack of sleep, but the first is sure that the scream was near the tower. They object to him that it's quiet there, but the girl realizes that she almost got caught and doesn't see the slime. Then she notices him behind the fence and thinks what will happen if the guards see him. She can't even imagine it and doesn't want to look at it. Suddenly, the lady smells a pleasant aroma and wonders what it is. Opening her eyes, she sees the flowers that the slime brought. Irina asks why he did this, and the creature places his hand on her palm and proposes marriage. The girl wonders if this is really a proposal and hears a sound in response. She says it's sweet, but she will marry Archduke Ruslan Alexeyev. No demon can resist the power of the Archduke, and his charisma is incredible. Irina adds that she will marry the slime if he defeats Ruslan and waits for an answer. Slime declares that he will win, and the main character can hardly contain her laughter. She says that now she will have to marry him and asks when the wedding will be. But he decides to start small and offers to kiss, since they were already holding hands. The creature becomes embarrassed and seems not to understand what is being said, pointing at itself. The girl smiles and says that if he does it himself, she will just close her eyes. Closing them, she wonders why nothing is happening and if he has run away again. Irina already wants to call him, but she feels a kiss and screams in surprise. She apologizes, saying she accidentally took the first step, and the slime runs away in tears. The girl is perplexed as to why he became so embarrassed and who asked her to marry him. She comes to the bed and asks him to come out. The lady laughs, calling him funny, and suggests they come back to it when he's older. Meanwhile, in the dungeon of the Sordi estate, a red-haired lady complains of the cold. She gets up and accuses Valentin Sordi, asking how he dared leave her there. The woman is sure that the Duke will return soon, and then she will take revenge on everyone. If the girl had disappeared, her daughter Bella would have become the heir. She screams, promising to definitely get rid of Irina. After some time, the main character walks through the garden and rejoices at how beautiful it is there. She is happy to go outside, although she would not have been allowed to go without Valentin's invitation. The lady asks the slime if this is too cruel, and he agrees. The girl notices her brother and asks the slime to stay out of his sight. She approaches her brother, asks how long he waited, and wonders what happened. Valentin says that the conversation is important and suggests they sit down. Irina wonders what he's talking about, and he asks her to wait. The guy spreads out a blanket and says that now you can sit down. She thanks him, and he notices how much weight she has lost. He says that he has prepared everything for her, and the girl smiles, seeing the basket of food. Valentin offers food and adds that his father will return soon, and it looks like he's found the very thing he's talking about. The guy explains that it is a poison from the roots of Kalinda, which does not immediately plunge into eternal sleep. The man suffers for a long time and coughs up red liquid, slowly approaching the end. Irina understands that it seems she has already been poisoned with this poison. Valentin says that sooner or later, one of them will be presented with it. If you don't obey, life will end even earlier, and the plot begins to develop. It is said that with frequent use, flowers will grow on the wrists, and if you drink before it blooms completely, the body itself will become a source of poison. Irina understands the Duke's plan, and that Ruslan will slowly fall into eternal sleep. For the sake of the perfect plan, he is ready to turn his daughter into a vessel for poison. The girl is angry with her father, but she knows where the antidote is. It can be found in the forest around the Archduke's estate. Irina says that talk about poisons does not frighten her, although her brother has his doubts. It seems to him that she is waiting for the opportunity to drink poison. The girl tries to stay calm and pretends that he is wrong. Maria thinks that she has no reason to want to plunge into eternal sleep, but Valentin declares that he will drink the poison, and Irina screams. He grabs her by the shoulders and tells her that it is too dangerous for her. Irina understands that he does not know the whole truth and the poison must be hers. Valentin doesn't understand why she is so stubborn and wants to take everything upon herself. The girl assures that if she sacrifices herself, the problem will be solved. The guy disagrees and considers her behavior stubborn. But who knows what abilities she will gain once the poison is completely neutralized. They say that with regular use, a flower with 5 petals will grow on your wrist. And if you then take the antidote, your health will become perfect. All senses will be heightened, and it will be possible to cleanse demonic creatures. Therefore, the lady doesn't want to miss the chance to become a significant figure. Valentin asks her to stop. Irina asks if he really wants to take all the pain for himself. At this moment, the young master is approached with news. So he asks if he is busy now, and the guy says no, so they can go right now. The young man adds that the girl should get up because he will take her to the room. The main character thanks him and wonders to herself whether her brother has always been like this. After a while, the lady sits down on the bed and sighs heavily. She says she and her brother have a complicated relationship, as they literally argue over who will take the poison first. The longer you live, the more problems arise. After this, the girl asks if this is true. The girl turns to the slime, but taking Togo out of her pocket, she sees that it has turned green and screams, asking what happened. She notices that he has a strange shape and asks if he is in any pain. But the slime shakes its head, showing that everything is fine, and talks about falling into eternal sleep. The protagonist asks if this is how he reacts to her decision to take poison, and the slime nods. The lady tries to calm him down and tells him not to worry, because everything will be fine, but he just starts crying. Irina understands how worried he is and leans towards him, kissing him on the forehead. The girl assures him that she can handle it, asks him not to worry, and promises not to fall into eternal sleep just like that, so he shouldn't be sad. At this moment, the main character hears footsteps near her room and realizes that she first needs to hide the slime. The lady shoves it under the bed, and at that very moment, someone suddenly bursts into Irina's room. It turns out to be a girl with red hair who screams, asking what the lady did to her mother. The main character realizes that she found out that Rose is being held in prison. Irina asks what she is talking about, because she doesn't remember doing anything. But the interlocutor sternly declares that she should not pretend, because she has already been told everything. The girl asks if the lady really said that they hid her things and adds that she just doesn't like them. Then she screams about how her innocent mother could be put in prison, and Irina wonders if she is really talking about Rose. The red-haired girl claims that Irina slandered her mother, but she will definitely find her weak spot. The main character replies that yes, and wishes her luck, realizing that she doesn't want to fight with a teenager at all. The interlocutor gets angry and says that she still has things to do, so they will finish later, and next time she will not let her go so easily. The main character asks what this is all about, and the girl replies that the Duke has already returned. She adds that if Irina wants to justify herself to him, she should hurry, and she wonders if the Duke is already there. Irina says she'll be down soon, but asks if Bella forgot anything. After all, it is she who will have to accompany her, since she is responsible for her. Or maybe she has already forgotten her place, which makes the red-haired girl embarrassed. After this, she screams for Irina to stop talking nonsense and come out. As the main character is about to leave, she turns to the slime and wonders if she can leave it there alone. After all, he needs to hide well until she returns. A short while later, the main character is sitting at the table with her father. She realizes that this is the first time she has seen Duke Sordi, and notes that he looks better than she expected. The man turns to Valentin and tells him to prepare for his imminent departure. He states that tomorrow he is leaving for the Raven Forest, and the guy asks in surprise if it is really that soon. The main character realizes that her brother has just returned from the battlefield, and her father is sending him there again. The Crow's Forest is a godforsaken place, and it becomes clear why he wants to send Valentine there. He needs demonic artifacts and diverters necessary for transformation into a demon, and they can only be found on other demons. Irina wonders where the Emperor is looking, while the blonde man replies that he understands and will begin preparing. But the main character wonders why her brother is so obedient, or whether he is already under hypnosis, although the plot has not yet reached that point. The man says that this is right, and that the guy must obey if he wants to protect what is dear to him. After this, he turns to Irina and hands her a small bottle. He adds that finally she will be of use, and the main character wonders if this is really Kalinda's poison. The girl understands that she shouldn't show joy and thinks about how to keep her cool. Irina tries to look innocent and asks what it is, but her brother immediately slams his hand on the table. He tells his father to give it to him, and the man coldly asks how he dared raise his voice. He states that it seems he raised him poorly, since the young man dared to intervene in the conversation. He then warns him that if he says a word, his treasure will be destroyed. The young man apologizes, and his father says that he will forgive him for his rudeness, but only this time. After this, he opens the bottle, hands it to Irina, and orders her to drink it. He says it will turn her into a beautiful flower. The protagonist takes the glass and understands it will hurt, but it doesn't matter. It's better to drink it all in one gulp, because only then will she be able to take revenge on him, and the man is watching her closely. He notices that she seems to have been waiting for this for a long time, but the girl replies that this is his order. She adds that she cannot argue, and the man sighs, agreeing that this is true. Irina understands that she needs to drink before she changes her mind, and after finishing the drink, she realizes that the poison tastes almost nothing. She wonders what will happen next, because he is already in her stomach, and her father smiles, watching her, while her brother clenches his fists. The lady with red hair turns to her daughter and tells her to look carefully. She declares that there's very little time left, and that Bella will soon take that girl's place. After a while, the protagonist returns to her room and realizes she can't see anything. At this moment, someone addresses Lady Sortie, and the girl wonders if it is Rose. The woman asks if she feels well, and the main character replies that she is quite well. But then he starts coughing up red liquid and asks to let it pass. Rose opens the door to the room, supports the lady, and tells her to get some rest. She adds that her only protector will soon be leaving, and hopes that the lady is ready for the challenges ahead. After this, she leaves, and the main character tells her not to worry, because she will survive. Then the girl lies down on the bed and realizes that everything is bad, because she did not expect such pain, and enduring this torment alone turns out to be much harder than she imagined. At this moment, the lady hears someone speaking to her and realizes that it is him. The main character asks with a smile if he hid well, but the slime only asks if she is in much pain. Irina tells him not to worry, assures him that everything is fine, but then admits that she doesn't feel well and would rather sleep. The lady apologizes and asks that if something happens, he must hide. After this, the slime screams and begins to grow. After a while, the girl opens her eyes. She places her hand on the bed and wonders why it is so soft, and when she fully wakes up, she realizes that she is lying on slime. She wonders what this is all about, and the slime separates from the general mass and says that the patient needs safety. The girl asks if he was warming her up to make her feel better, and he replies that yes. The main character thinks how cute he is, like a kitten, and that it is so soft and warm with him. Irina asks if he can also heal, and if so, then he really is the best. And the slime asks what that means. The girl replies that this means he is cool, and repeats with a smile that this is true. She says that she has it, and thanks the slime, because now she doesn't feel so lonely. After a little while, the girl stretches and says that she feels better. Irina understands that the pain still remains, but the main thing is that she took Kalinda's poison, and thanks the slime for everything, because without him she would have suffered alone for a long time. The girl wonders what would happen to her without him, but then she thinks, what if the Duke sees the slime before she gains her power? The Duke took or destroyed everything Irina loved, and this case would be no exception. After this, the main character asks the slime to listen to her very carefully. She says that if something happens, he should run north, and asks if he understands. But the slime replies that he won't leave because he must protect Irina, and she sighs heavily. Irina hugs him and says that he is her protector and she is counting on him. The girl then lies down on the bed and the slime covers her with a blanket, and Irina thanks him. She says that she will wrap herself well, and he should listen to her and run north in case of danger, and the slime asks if she really won't go. The girl replies that she can't, but if he runs away, she promises to find him, and the slime asks if she will fall into eternal sleep and if she feels better, to which she replies that he should not worry, because this pain will not harm her, and she is destined to fall into eternal sleep at the hands of her brother. Slime claims that he will defeat him, and the main character asks if this is true. She admits that she is afraid, because it will not be easy, and the slime puts his hand on hers and says that she needs to appreciate life. Irina understands how gentle and kind he is, agrees with him, and says that she understands everything. The lady proposes that they live happily ever after and embraces him. Meanwhile, the lady's father asks if there is any news of the Archduke. The servant replies that yes, and that the Grand Duchy has been too quiet lately, And although the location was tracked, it did not help. The Archduke has suddenly disappeared, and the lady's father notes that only a short time has passed since his succession. He doesn't understand how he has the conscience to just sit in the castle. He claims that something happened, whether to the body or the spirit, and if he had nothing to hide, he would not hide. The man asks the servant if he is sure that he is really there, and receives the answer that he is, since a maid had recently been sent there. She saw the Archduke there, and the man says that it could be a trap, so he will find out more. After this, he turns to his son and declares that it is now his turn. He orders him to tell him how long it will take to receive the goods, and he replies that it will take about 2 weeks. The man states that he is giving him only a week in this antidote, and then everything will depend only on how he uses it. We need to get something useful, otherwise Irina will repeat the fate of the young man's mother. The boy remembers his mother coughing up red fluid, and he asking where it hurt, and she replying that everything was fine, but then she coughed again, and the young man admits that he remembered it for the rest of his life. After this, he says that it is time for him to go and leaves, slamming the door loudly. The Duke angrily calls him a stupid puppy, saying that he is too much like his mother and too weak as an heir. He also remembers the monster that disappeared, and then turns to one of the servants. The Duke orders them to tell how Irina and Valentin lived in his absence, starting with the idiot who just left. The servant reports that the young master may soon become a sword master, but he is concerned about his lack of academic knowledge due to his frequent absences. The man replies that he understands, adding that stupid hunting dogs are always easier to train. He orders the report to continue, and the servant asks permission to talk about Lady Irina's training. The Duke learns that she visited the library and immediately asks for what purpose. The teacher explains that they recently taught a lesson on monsters, and that might be why she showed interest. The Duke asks if this means she simply wanted to know more. The teacher confirms this, but the Duke finds it strange, since before the lady was afraid of everything and remembered almost nothing. Therefore, he rather believes that she fell under someone's influence, because it all looks too suspicious. The Duke orders the teacher to keep a closer eye on the girl in the future. Then he turns to Rose and tells her to lock the door to Irina's room at night. The woman smiles and says she will do her best to carry out his orders. After some time, the protagonist wonders where Jana is and whether she's underwater. Then she sees a girl in front of her, treating the Archduke's wound and warning that it will sting a little. The man watches her silently, and when the lady says that he should rest and it's time for her to go, he suddenly lays her down on the bed and asks her not to leave. And Irina, surprised, asks him to let her go. The guy replies that he doesn't want to, because if he lets her go, she'll run away again. After a while, Irina opens her eyes and sighs heavily, realizing that everything ended at the most interesting point. Suddenly, she feels something dripping onto her hands and doesn't understand what it is. Raising her head, she is frightened, thinking that this is a nightmare, because the monster begins to strangle her. Irina understands that this is the work of Duke Sordi and tries to remove her paws, but her hands seem to be on fire and do not obey. She tries to calm down, convincing herself that it's just a dream and she just needs to wait until she wakes up. The girl wonders why he is doing this to her, because she is in pain and it is hard for her, and even in her dreams, she is scared. She asks for someone to help, and at that moment, she notices a bright light. Turning around, she sees a slime jumping on the monster, trying to cut it. The monster pushes him away, and Irina calls out anxiously to the slime. She asks him to run, saying that she will be fine, but seeing that he is not moving, she begs him to wake up. The monster squeezes her even harder, and the slime rises and squeezes the blade again. He attacks again but is pushed back again, but the slime doesn't give up. He crawls up the monster's body and hits it in the neck, after which it begins to dissolve. The main character watches this in shock, and the slime falls right into her hands. Irina asks if he's okay, and upon hearing a sound in response, she anxiously asks if he's in pain, and the slime replies that he will protect her no matter what. After a while, the girl opens her eyes and notices how bright it is around. Sitting up, she remembers the dream and immediately looks for the slime. The baby makes a sound, and upon seeing it, Irina sighs with relief. She says how good it is that he is here, because she just had a strange dream. But, noticing the wound on his face, she realizes that it was not a dream. The girl calls him a fool and asks why he didn't run away, because it was too dangerous. She worries that she caused a wound on his little body, and the slime takes her finger and apologizes for his weakness. He says he regrets not admitting how small and weak he is, but Irina remains silent. Slime promises to become stronger, And the girl wonders if he's been thinking about this all this time. Did he really think that she only liked strong men, like Archduke Ruslan, and she called him stupid? Irina says that he is already strong enough and has nothing to apologize for. She adds that in the dream he was incredibly cool, thanks him, and admits that she likes guys like that. Slime becomes embarrassed, and noticing this, Irina asks if everything is okay with him. She gets scared, thinking that he is ill, and asks him to come to his senses. Last night, the candle in the Duke's study went out, and the man noted that the nightmare disappeared too quickly. He still had time, but he suddenly fell into an eternal sleep, which is strange even for a low-level nightmare. The Duke calls this suspicious, and the servant agrees, because even a weak nightmare is still a nightmare. The man says that this is precisely what worries him, because the weak girl could not cope on her own. Someone definitely managed to help her, and the Duke wonders who dared to do such a thing on his estate. He orders the butler to find out who this impudent fellow is, and also keep an eye on those who visit Irina and deal with them immediately. Left alone, the man is once again convinced that the girl could not cope on her own. Either someone helped her, or holy powers began to awaken, like those of her mother. For the sake of a child with divine powers, he even married a priestess. But everything turned out to be a failure. The woman gave birth to a dummy and still hoped that he would recognize her son. He remembers how the lady begged him not to send Valentine to exterminate monsters because he was still a child. The man replied that he could already fight with divine power if she did everything correctly. He blamed his wife, saying that she was screaming like an animal, although she was to blame for everything. She shouted back that he was the only beast here, for which she received a blow to the face. The Duke asked if she still didn't understand anything, even after her parents had fallen into eternal sleep. If she wants to protect the people she loves, she should think about her behavior. After all, no one can stop his plan. Now the main character is trying to embroider and realizes it's much more boring than she expected. The lady yawns and the red-haired girl asks sarcastically what kind of manners these are. Bella remarks that the lady should cover her mouth, and Irina asks what she's even doing here. Bella replies that the Duke ordered Irina to be watched, and upon hearing that she found nothing, she declares that she still has something to teach the lady. The main character asks if Bella really thinks she's better than her, but noticing the perfectly embroidered scarf, he asks in amazement why it is so good. Bella replies that Rose taught her, and Irina continues embroidering, wondering which of them is the Duke's real daughter. Bella turns to Irina again and asks who she spoke to last night, because she heard sounds. The slime under the bed gets scared, and Irina pretends not to understand what they are talking about. Bella notices the tremor in her voice and says that if Irina is up to something, she better stop. Irina thinks that this is just her fantasy. Bella demands to tell the truth, claiming that Irina was caught anyway, but she replies that she has nothing to hide. Bella shouts that when the young master leaves, it will be too late, so she needs to speak now. Irina asks if this is a threat, but at that moment someone enters the room and Bella begins to stutter. Irina is surprised by this and, turning around, realizes that someone is standing at the door. It turns out to be her brother, who asks why Bella has become silent and what will happen when he leaves. Bella bows and says it's nothing, after which she quickly leaves. The blonde stops her and asks her to make tea, and the girl quickly agrees. After a while, Irina takes the cup and says with relief that it has finally become calm. She thanks her brother and asks why he came, and he replies that he came to say goodbye. He says that he is leaving for the Raven Forest tonight, and Irina asks him to be careful, promising to wait. The guy smiles and says that he will definitely return safe and sound. Irina wonders if he has become attached to her and suddenly finds herself feeling sorry for Valentin. Then she thinks why he is still sitting here, and does he really want to say something? The guy points to the scarf and asks what it is. Irina takes it in her hands and says that it is a gift, and her brother asks who it is for. She replies that it's for their slime, and it immediately crawls out from under the bed, reacting in surprise. Irina says he showed up just in time and asks if the scarf will fit. She asks him not to move, tries on the scarf, and notices that the white color suits him very well. The brother is surprised that she will give the scarf to him, and Irina replies that yes, because then everyone will know that it is hers. The guy says that he understands everything and is about to go, but, heading towards the door, he suddenly awkwardly bumps into it. The main character is surprised that his condition has really worsened so suddenly. She wonders if this is connected with the fact that in this world, nights before going to war, scarves are often given as gifts for good luck, and perhaps he wanted one from her. Irina realizes she has something just right. She asks her brother to wait a second, and begins rummaging through the nightstand, remembering that there was definitely a handkerchief with the sortie emblem there. Having found it, the girl notices that it is a little dusty. The lady brushes off the dust and hands the handkerchief to her brother, telling him to take it with him. The guy asks in surprise if this is true for him, and Irina says that she hopes to see him with this scarf alive and well. The young man remains silent, embarrassed, and when asked if he likes it, he briefly replies that he will go. He presses the handkerchief to himself and puts it in his pocket, and Irina adds that she wanted to ask him about something else. She comes closer and whispers that it concerns the slime, asking where he found it, and hears the answer about the Celtic River. The girl wonders if it could be somewhere near the Bart Plain, since she heard that it was dangerous there because of the demonic gates. She assumes that her brother brought it from there, and he asks if she wants to know who he is, and Irina replies that she does, because he is not at all like the others. The guy agrees to sort it out, and Irina asks how he plans to do it. He says that he will just slightly pierce the slime, because there is still time before leaving, and the girl hides the baby in horror. The brother backs down and says that he will just watch then. But Irina doubts whether she can trust him. She understands that she has classes today, she can't take the slime with her, and if it is caught, it is unknown what will happen to it. Leaving him alone in the tower is also dangerous, because if the maid finds him, she will definitely put him into eternal sleep. In this situation, Irina decides that it might be better to leave the slime with her brother. She warns him that if he tortures the slime, he will be in big trouble, and the guy does not understand what she is talking about. Then the girl says that in that case, she will hate him with all her heart. The guy is stunned, and Irina asks him to extend his hand if he understands everything. The boy does this by taking the slime, and Irina says that they should not quarrel. She's not here yet. She explains that she has a class about monsters and will be back soon. The girl leaves, leaving them alone, and Valentin realizes that even though he doesn't like the slime, but since Irina values him, she will have to look after him. He recalls finding it on the Barth Plain by the Celtic River, where his father had sent him. At that time, the slime was no different from a normal one, but now it has eyes and a mouth, which looks strange. Valentin sits him down and sternly tells him not to even think about running away. He promised his sister to look after him, and in this hour he intends to find out everything about him. The guy notices that the slime seems to be ignoring him, although earlier it seemed that it understood Irina's words. Can a lower demon have intelligence? Because all this is too strange, especially considering he survived by the Celtic River, which is full of powerful monsters. Valentin even wonders if he is a telepath, because he doesn't see any other explanation. Slimes don't use magic though, so he eventually decides it doesn't matter. The main thing is that Irina smiles next to him, whereas before she resembled a lifeless doll. Now the sister has changed, and it seems the slime has become a true friend to her. He doesn't see anything suspicious yet. Valentin decides to just watch further and sits down, looking around the room, realizing that the problem is clearly not only in the slime. He wonders how the maids could have let the room get so dirty. The guy thinks they need to be taught a lesson, but as he's about to clean up, he notices a strange note. After reading it, he realizes that the handwriting is not Irina's, and the note speaks of a marriage proposal. Slime makes a sound and raises his hand, and Valentin asks in surprise if he really wrote that. The baby smiles, and his brother screams in shock, not understanding what he is. How could a monster even write this, and what kind of marriage can we talk about? The slime makes a sound again, but Valentin crumples the paper and declares that this will never happen. The kid gets angry. Valentin calls him names, and the slime looks back and jumps on the boy's shoe. Valentin catches him and asks if he really wanted to throw dirt in his eyes. The guy wonders if he's gone crazy and tells the slime to listen carefully. He says that Irina cannot marry him because she has already chosen a groom, Archduke Ruslan. Valentin asks if the slime is really going to put him into eternal sleep. Not receiving an answer, he just sighs and says that everything is not that simple. There is simply no suitable man for his sister, but she still has to get married. He also thinks that after inheriting the title, he will have to support many singles. At this moment, the slime addresses him again, and Valentin wonders if it can really write. The slime writes the words Person X, and the guy realizes that it is pointing to himself. He explains that the ideal husband should look impressive. Instead of being a soft lump, he thinks he'll give in at this rate, but the slime attracts attention again. It takes on a square shape, and Valentin is amazed, not understanding what he is trying to prove. The guy doubts the seriousness of his intentions and says that no matter how hard he tries, nothing will come of it. To be with Irina, you need to be smart and wield a sword better than him, be cold to others and warm to her, know how to dance and know etiquette, and most importantly, to save her from her father, which requires incredible strength. Slime makes a confident expression, and at that moment, Irina enters the room, asking if they had been arguing. Seeing the square slime in her brother's hands, she asks in shock why he became like that. Valentin says that he is too self-confident and ambitious. Irina doesn't understand what he's talking about and asks if he managed to find out anything about his nature. The brother replies that there was little time and he will question the nights after leaving, adding that it is time for him to get ready. He asks Irina to look after the slime, and the girl agrees, telling him not to worry. Valentin notices that this is not a joke, then sighs, and says that he will be back soon. Irina asks the slime to return to its previous form, but it only smiles smugly. She says she was going to give the handkerchief to the soft slime. The baby immediately returns to his previous form, and the girl tries on the scarf, asking him not to move. When the scarf is tied like a cloak, the slime says it likes it. Irina is happy and wants to tell him something important, but suddenly she sees him reaching for dessert and screams that he can't have it. She immediately removes him from human food and sternly repeats that this is prohibited. The girl asks him to wait so she can help him spit it out, but notices that the slime looks normal. She thinks that maybe the monster reference book is wrong and she will have to go to the library again. Irina apologizes for shaking him too hard. She asks if she should pat him on the back, unaware that Bella is eavesdropping. Sometime later, Irina is back in the library and reads that slimes are not intelligent and cannot write. It is also said that they do not use magic, cannot tolerate water, and are sensitive to acids. They live in the mountains and on the plains, not appearing near rivers and seas, and Irina understands that this does not match what she saw. She looks at the slime and doubts if it is really a slime. It may be of a similar species, but the girl decides that the book is useless. At this moment, Rose addresses her, and Irina wonders where she came from. Rose says that you can only read once a week, and Irina replies that this is her first time. The woman apologizes, and Irina gets ready to leave. But Rose follows her, and the girl does not understand why she is accompanying her. Rosa announces that breakfast will be served soon and that they have prepared ham for Irina. Irina is surprised by such care and asks since when the maid has been so attentive. Rose pretends not to understand the question, and Irina remembers that she used to be angry, and this seems strange. Now Valentin has left, and there is no one left to turn to for help in the mansion. But, touching her pocket, Irina realizes that she is not alone, because there is a slime next to her. She tells Rose that everything is fine and asks him to take her to the dining room. After some time, Irina finishes breakfast and says that it was the best food in a long time. The only thing missing is dessert. At that moment, the slime jumps to the floor and runs away, and the girl screams for it not to go away. Seeing him disappear, she is surprised by his dexterity and calls him back, and the maid asks if everything is all right. Irina replies that it's okay and understands that she needs to go get some slime. In her thoughts, she asks him not to get caught, and at that moment the slime hears a voice asking what Bella is doing. Slime hides behind a box, and another maid replies that the girl is currently sleeping in her room. The lady with red hair nods and says that it is for the best, and there is no need to wake her. She asks where the other girl is now, and the maid replies that she is still in the dining room. The lady with red hair smiles contentedly and says that before Irina returns, she needs to install something in her room. The woman places the object on the table and says that she had to try hard to get this audio and video recording device. With his help, she is going to collect evidence, because she is sure that this girl is taking a man to her bedroom. She claims that every night she heard voices behind the door, as if the main character was talking to someone. And then she whispers, as if she had been warned that this was not possible, and the woman does not understand how Irina has not been caught yet. She is sure that with the evidence, the Duke will not remain silent and will drive the girl out in disgrace. The maid says that this is to be expected from the head maid and offers to turn on the device. The woman takes the instructions and tries to figure out how to use it. While they are fiddling with the device, the slime quietly jumps onto the cabinet. The maid repeats the phrase just said and happily notes that the device works. After some time, she says that everything is calm with the lady, and she did not notice anything unusual. The head maid replies that it is fine, and asks what Irina is doing now. They tell her that the girl is in the library and will not return soon. The red-haired lady decides to take the devices and orders another maid to look after Irina. Entering the room, she looks around and is sure that this idiot definitely brought someone here. But lifting the blanket, she is surprised because she finds no hair or traces. It remains to check the recording, and the woman removes the device from the chair, noticing that it has been hanging there all this time. Looking around, she sees books about demons. One of them is about northern monsters, and the woman thinks that Irina might have been dating a night slayer. If she proves this, it will be all over for the girl. At this moment, someone turns to Rose and asks what she is doing here. Rose turns to Irina and says with a smile that she has already returned, adding that she decided to clean up because of the dust. Irina wonders if she really did it with her bare hands, and the woman replies that she's already finished. The lady praises her and says that now she can leave. Once outside the door, Rose gets angry and mutters about the girl's insolence. Another maid runs up to her and apologizes, saying that Irina left too quickly. Rose sighs and says that she took the recorder anyway, which means it's time to check the recording. They turn it on and hear Irina's voice saying that she likes it too and calling someone cutie. The woman understands that even this is enough for evidence, and today she will go to the Duke. Slime overhears all of this, and Irina quietly tells him that it is dangerous and calls him closer. She notices dust on the duvet cover and thinks that this is where the maid cleaned. The more she thinks about it, the more suspicious it seems. At that moment, the slime suddenly takes something out of itself, and Irina, in shock, thinks that it is sick. Slime shakes his head and makes it clear that the problem is in the video recording. Irina guesses that it is a recording device, but does not understand where he got it from, and the slime talks about a bad person and revenge. When he presses the ball, a recording begins of the maid and the teacher greeting the Duke. The Duke orders the reports to begin, and one of them says that Lady Sortie has excelled in etiquette. The man replies that now she has become more like a human being, and that after she comes of age, he will marry her off. The head maid apologizes for the intrusion and says she has an urgent report. She claims that Lady Sortie is taking a man to the tower and that a recording device has been installed for this purpose. She turns on the recording, and Irina thinks with disgust at how disgusting they are. Not only are they stealing her things, but they're also eavesdropping, and that's going beyond the pale. Irina understands that such a device requires magic and does not understand how the slime was able to use it. She asks him if he can use magic. At this point, a scream is heard from the recording that this cannot be. This is the voice of the head maid, who claims to have heard this voice. The Duke asks irritably if she really interrupted him over such a trifle. The woman bows and says that the device must be broken, but she can ask the other maids. The Duke asks if she can prove it, and the woman hesitates. The man replies that he doesn't care who it was, a knight, a monster, or a worm. He gives Rose one last chance and orders her to find out who Irina is bringing to the tower. The Duke orders them to hurry and steps on the device, saying that he is not patient. Irina understands that trouble is near and calls the slime to her. She opens the window and throws out the device with the recording of the conversation between the Duke and the maids. The girl decides to first get rid of the recording and then free the slime before they arrive. Soon the maids burst in and declare that this is an order from his lordship. Irina is forcibly removed from the room despite her protests. She is thrown on the floor in another room and ordered to sit quietly. As they leave, Irina asks the slime if he's okay, but he gets angry. She strokes him and asks him not to be angry, reminding him of her words. In case of danger, he must flee north to the Choco Forest. There's a hut you can hide in, and the slime makes a sound when it cries. Irina says that today is the best time to escape and asks if he can handle it. She assures him that everything will be fine with her and asks him to leave quickly. Slime looks at her one last time and jumps out of the window. Irina is glad that he escaped and remembers that in her haste, she forgot about the scarf. But suddenly the slime comes back and makes a sound. Irina is shocked to recognize him and is surprised how he found the discarded recording. And he also shows the bread. She joyfully takes him in her arms and then gets scared as to why he came back. Irina sighs and regrets that she wasn't more attentive in magic lessons. She asks if he knows movement magic. After all, with its help you can get anywhere, but the slime looks puzzled. Irina understands that he doesn't know anything and thinks about what to do now. She says that if he gets caught, there will be a lot of problems, and the slime hands her some bread. The girl thanks him and decides to gather her strength. At this moment, she hears a conversation about whether Baron Folan gave money. Irina thinks they are selling information about the Duke's family and decides to remember the conversation. One maid says that the Baron used to pay well, but now he is afraid to share information. She says that if the Duke finds out, he will definitely put her into eternal sleep, and the other asks not to worry as long as everyone remains silent. The next morning, Irina wakes up the slime and says it's time to get out. She promises to see him off and suggests going. Slime asks if they will go together, but Irina replies that she already explained. He says he will protect her. Irina tearfully asks him to listen to her at least now. She admits that she also wants to protect him and offers to come to an agreement. Irina promises to come for him to the hut in the Choco Forest and asks if he can open the lock. The slime turns into a key, and the girl praises it. She asks not to get out of her pocket, and the surprised maids outside the door ask how she opened the door. Irina says that her father ordered her to be released for a conversation. The maid has doubts and wants to check with the head, but Irina doesn't let her go. She asks if the maid is more important than her father. She replies that no, but she needs to check her words. Then Irina takes out the ball with the recording and says that if it's so important, she can convey everything to her father and turns on the recording. In it, the maid talks about the Baron's money, after which the recording ends. The maid, shocked, asks how this was recorded. Irina replies that they themselves understand how this will end for them, and if they don't want the consequences, they will have to cooperate. Irina says that it's not so important now, because with such evidence, they will definitely not get off with a light sentence. She adds that if they don't want to end up in jail, they should get out of the way immediately. The maids immediately step aside, but at that very moment, someone else approaches the lady. The man asks what exactly Irina is doing, and the maids immediately turn to Mistress Bella. The girl calmly replies that it was she who opened the door on the Duke's orders. She then asks if she can take Irina with her, and the maids exchange glances. They agree and allow her to pass. Bella asks how long she plans to stand there and suggests they go. The protagonist agrees, but wonders why this girl is playing along and whether the Duke really asked to take her. After a short while, Irina notices that this road does not lead to her father and asks where they are going. When the interlocutor is silent, the main character says that she doesn't have time to just follow her. Bella stops and asks if Irina didn't want to let the slime go. The main character is shocked and wonders where she found out about this, but Bella asks her not to be so surprised. She says that she found out about this only recently, and Irina is feverishly thinking about what to do and how to justify herself. At that moment, Irina feels ill and starts coughing up red fluid. Bella turns around and asks what's wrong, and Irina replies, "It's just a cough." The lady with red hair is silent and remembers how her mother spoke to her. "She told me to be careful, because after this girl entered into eternal sleep, everything would change. She would take the place of the Duke's daughter," and Bella then asked if Irina would really fall into eternal sleep. Looking at the girl, the lady wondered why she wasn't taking her medicine, and at that moment she heard the maids whispering. One asked if she had heard a cough at the table, and the other answered that she had, and that the girl had no knowledge of etiquette at all. She doesn't even cover herself with her hand, and Bella should have been the Duke's daughter. Another asked how long it would take for Lady Sortie to fall into eternal sleep from the poison in her food. Bella was in shock then and wondered if the maids really knew about the poison. She realized that she had to get to Irina as soon as possible and went to her with tea. Now the lady with red hair says that on the first day, when Irina drank the poison, she came to her room. Then she saw this creature and, looking at it, she wondered if it was a slime. She didn't understand where Irina got it from, and wondered if it wasn't a dangerous monster. At this time, the main character was tossing and turning in her sleep, and the slime was restlessly next to her. The lady wondered why Irina was so calm with him, and admitted that at first she considered him dangerous. But the girl's calmness changed her mind. Then she wondered if everything she knew before was true. The main character asks in shock, "Doesn't Bella hate her?" But the girl replies in surprise that she didn't say anything about any sympathy. She tells Irina not to be mistaken, because she is doing this not for her sake, but for her own. She doesn't want to live in ignorance any longer, so Irina must hurry. Bella says that she is giving her only 5 minutes, and Irina replies with a smile that that is enough. She thanks Bella and says she'll be back soon, thinking how timely she was. Now she needs to find a safe place behind the castle where the water is flowing to release the slime. There he can safely go down the river, and, turning behind the castle, the lady finds this place. She leans down to the water and asks the slime to swim down the river, and the baby looks at her anxiously. The girl asks if he remembers the hut she spoke of, and if so, to wait for her there. She suggests meeting again when they are older, and admits that she didn't think it would be her last gift. Wrapping the slime in a scarf, she asks him to never lose it. With tears in his eyes, the baby asks her not to go, because he cannot leave her. Irina replies that it is impossible, otherwise his father will definitely put him into eternal sleep. She says that they will definitely meet again, so there is no point in crying. Slime promises to become stronger and return, but the lady says there is no time and asks him to leave. He goes into the water and swims away, and Irina wishes him a safe journey. Wiping away her tears, she gets up and says it's time to go back. But, walking back, she doesn't see Bella anywhere and asks where she is. At that moment, she hears a scream and realizes that it is Bella's voice. Irina thinks that something has happened to her, and Rose screams that it's a misunderstanding. She says that her daughter is not guilty of anything, and she simply had no choice. Irina is shocked and wonders how the Duke ended up here, and the woman asks her daughter to tell her what Irina told her. The girl only cries and turns away. And the woman tells the Duke that her daughter was scared and the child has a secret with the knight. The Duke immediately asks Rose if she really thinks so. After all, this would mean brazenly entering the estate and arranging secret meetings. He then turns to Irina Sordia and asks what she has to say. The girl understands that she needs to calm down because he can't know about the slime and decides to pretend not to understand anything. Irina comes out from behind the tree and says that she doesn't understand what he's talking about. She insists that she has never secretly dated anyone, but Rose shouts that the girl is lying. The man says that since there is no evidence, he will have to punish her. He orders the head maid to be put in prison, and when the knights approach, she asks them not to touch her. Bella screams in horror to her mother, and then tells the Duke that she saw Irina with a slime and how she released it into the river. The main character, shocked, asks how Bella could do this. The girl apologizes and says that she cannot allow her mother to fall into eternal sleep. The Duke asks if she's talking about the slime and orders her to search everything around and put it into eternal sleep. Slime gets out onto the shore and says that he will still go to Irina, but someone appears in front of him and asks if he is the slime that was ordered to be put into eternal sleep. The knight mockingly says, how dare he make him run after such an insignificant monster. Slime gets scared and is about to run away, but the man asks where he is going. The knight shouts that he will have to use his abilities and creates a magic circle. A rock falls in front of the slime, and the man with the knife smiles and says that he will not let it escape. He thinks about the Duke's reward for putting the slime into eternal sleep and imbues the blade with magic. He throws the knife, piercing the slime through and through, and says that now it looks even more insignificant. He then lifts the handkerchief and says that this will be proof of entering into eternal sleep. Slime makes pitiful sounds and thinks that he was supposed to meet Irina. He remembers the promise to reach the hut in the northern forest and uses teleportation magic. At that very moment, he finds himself at the hut and slowly crawls towards the door. He thinks only about Irina, and at this time the lady's brother is riding with the artifact in his hands. He understands that with such magic he will be able to get the antidote from his father, and his sister will be happy. But he also remembers that disgusting slime. When the boy arrives at the estate gates, the man congratulates him on his return from Raven Forest. The blonde thanks him and asks where the Baron is from and what he has in his hand. He replies that he put the slime into eternal sleep on the orders of the Duke and took the clothes as proof. The guy, shocked, asks what he's talking about, and the man laughs and repeats that it's proof. The boy remembers his sister, saying that the slime was soft and that she liked it. She warned that if Valentin tormented him, there would be problems. And now he wonders if this man really did put the slime into eternal sleep. After some time, the guy bursts into his sister's room and calls her anxiously. The girl is surprised, but happy about his return safe and sound. She thanks him for keeping his promise, but Valentine says there is something she needs to know. He says that Baron Fallen brought the handkerchief she gave to the slime as proof. Irina, in shock, says that this can't be, because no one knew the way. She says that you can't judge by the scarf and that the slime definitely survived and couldn't have fallen into eternal sleep. The guy agrees and says that this is impossible, and he is probably hiding somewhere. Irina realizes that he was the only one who supported her in this house and asks for the slime to live. 5 years later, Someone says there will be a debutante ball soon and asks if it's true. They answer her that yes, and that the young ladies this time are real beauties. They say that the very girl from the rumors will appear, the youngest daughter of the Duke of Sorty. She was very ill and hadn't been out in public, but her name was Irina Sorty. At this time, the Duke came to see his daughter. When Irina is about to greet him, he only asks how many calendula petals are on her wrist. She replies that it is 4, and the man says that this is good and that they are almost there. Archduke Ruslan will soon return from the demonic war, and by then, everything should be in bloom. Irina wonders if Ruslan has already closed all the magical gates and declared victory, since this should have taken much longer. The lady doesn't understand how this happened, and the father immediately asks if something serious happened. The girl apologizes and says she just felt a tightness in her chest, which is why her face looked weird. The man clicks his tongue and says it doesn't matter. He says the debutante ball coincided with the victory ceremony. He's not a fan of social events, but now's his chance. The Duke declares that he will make his move, and the lady must try to charm Ruslan and get a marriage proposal. Moreover, since they are destined to meet outside the estate, he allows her to go beyond its boundaries. The main character understands that this is the very moment when she is finally allowed to break free from the unbearable walls. The lady says that she understands the Duke, but thinks that Archduke Ruslan returned from the war too early. This could change the course of events greatly, but at that moment she hears someone calling her. It turns out to be Bella, who asks what Irina was so lost in thought that she didn't even notice her. Bella adds that today is Irina's first appointment and wonders why she hasn't gotten ready yet. Irina thinks Bella is even more excited about it than she is. If you think about it, Bella has changed a lot since before. She even came and apologized back then. She said she was sorry, but she couldn't let her mother fall into eternal sleep. From that day on, she promised to always be on Irina's side, and now asks why she is silent. Irina smiles and says that, as Bella said, this is her first appointment, so it's time to go get ready. After a while, one maid whispers to another that the Archduke has overdone it in this war. She replies that she heard and that his entire body is covered in wounds. At this moment, a male voice is heard asking why they are making noise near the Archduke's chambers. It's the butler, and the maids immediately apologize. He knocks and says it's Gregory. He is allowed to enter, and once in the room, he notices that the wounds are still too deep. He asks why the gentleman took such a risk, but he only smiles and says that there was no choice. It is necessary to prepare for the reception of special guests, and at this time Irina is already riding in a carriage. The maid hands her the list of guests, and the girl thanks her. Irina realizes that she needs an ally to escape from the Duke. In the original, there was an important person at this reception, Ellie Isla. She is the daughter of the Marquis, and another contender for the role of Ruslan's wife. Irina doubts whether she should get closer to her, because now they are rivals. But she knows that Ellie only meets with friends in one cafe, so it's worth making friends with her. Soon, someone tells Mrs. Isla that she looks wonderful today. Another girl agrees and asks how one can be so charming. The lady with pink hair laughs and says that all the ladies present here are beautiful in their own way. Then someone mentions rumors about Mrs. Sorty, who is said to be an incredible beauty. The lady asks if it's true, and the other one smiles awkwardly and says that Isla is still prettier. Her friend supports her and adds that this is the first appointment, so it would be impolite to linger. At this moment, Irina enters the room and apologizes for being late. She introduces herself and all the ladies freeze in surprise. It becomes clear that the rumors were true, and Ellie tries to pull herself together. No matter how much she loves beauty, this girl is still her rival. The lady with pink hair greets Irina and says that they were waiting for her, and since everyone is here, they can begin. Irina asks what exactly they will start and hears that she still doesn't know a lot. They gather to make friends, improve their manners, and practice foreign languages before their debut. One of the ladies is worried that Irina will be uncomfortable since it is difficult to learn the language without the academy. The lady with pink hair offers to help and start from the very basics. Irina understands that they look down on her, considering this to be childish, but she thanks her anyway. Ellie says they've been waiting for this moment for a long time, and suggests starting with the ancient language. The lady with pink hair is surprised because they wanted to start from the basics and the ancient language is complex. Another girl reminds that Isla was the best in the linguistics department. Irina just smiles and thinks whether to show off her skills. Then she thanks everyone in the ancient language and says that for her it is the easiest. The pink-haired lady is amazed and asks how Irina managed to learn it. She replies that she taught herself during her treatment. She adds that she knows 10 more languages, including Northern, Raski, and Attilan. One of the girls screams, not believing that one can know so many languages without an academy. Ellie covers her mouth, realizing she said too much. She says she needs to go to the ladies' room and leaves, and Irina asks the others to wait. Going out into the corridor, Irina tries to catch up with Isla and calls her several times. The pink-haired lady turns around and asks why Irina is following her. Irina says that she wanted to talk alone, but here's the question of what they should talk about. She replies that she wanted to thank him for his kindness, but Isla wonders when she ever showed it. Without finishing, she stops and asks if Irina is making fun of her. Irina insists that no, it's just that this was her first time at such an appointment and she needed help. She admits that she has no friends and would really like to be friends with Isla. The lady with pink hair thinks how beautiful Irina is and wonders if she will become her first friend. Irina takes her arm and says that she would be glad. She offers to chat after the appointment, and Ellie understands how difficult it is to refuse. Although she remembers the rivalry, she still agrees, and Irina is glad that everything is going well. Irina adds that she doesn't know any good places in the city and asks Ellie to choose herself. Later, they stop at a cafe, and Irina is surprised that it's Isla's favorite place. She replies that few people know about it. There are delicious desserts here, and she invites only close people here, which is why she brought Irina. Irina thanks them and says it's her treat today. Soon they're trying desserts. Irina notes that they are truly delicious. Ellie asks if Irina knows that they are rivals, because many would want to be friends with such a lady. She immediately realizes that she has said too much again. Irina replies that she still wants to be her friend and apologizes for bothering her. At this point, the worker reminds Isle that the Marquis will be back soon, and they have dinner planned. Ellie looks at her watch and is surprised at how quickly time has passed. She apologizes to Irina and says she has to leave. Irina thanks her for her time. Isla says goodbye and leaves, and Irina is left alone. She realizes that it is time to meet with the master of the Dark Guild, approaches the waiter and asks for a menu. Upon receiving it, she remembers that in the original, it was the best information cover. With such an ally, she will be able to learn everything about Duke Sorty, but to meet her, she needs to solve a problem in 1 minute. Irina realizes that this is a chance and asks if he will pass on the message to the master. She says she knows the answer. Meanwhile, the blonde man is sitting in his office. He slams the table and grumbles that this is more useless writing. He is waiting for the information he needs when there is a knock on the door and an announcement that there is news. The young man says that one lady was able to answer the question. The blonde asks what exactly she said and listens to the answer. He hears that the decision does not depend on her, but on Mr. Halcyon. The butler offers to send her back, but the blonde orders the girl to be brought to him. He repeats the order, and the butler agrees. The blonde realizes that he has finally met a person with a truly vivid imagination. He begins to wonder who she is, and at that moment the door opens. Seeing the girl, he asks if she is the very daughter of Duke Sorty. Irina is surprised that he knows her. He replies that she's the guild's main target, but he wasn't expecting that answer. Irina suggests they discuss it later. She approaches Halcyon Sphinx and offers to make a deal. He says he was hoping for a conversation, but he's not interested in that sort of thing. Irina asks if he is not at all curious about what information she can give. He replies that it doesn't matter to the guildmaster. Then Irina says that even if we are talking about his brother, Myron Sphinx, who is 13 years old, she mentions his ability to see the future, which runs in the Sphinx family. At that moment, a dagger is put to her neck, and he asks how she knows this. Irina calmly asks him to put the knife away and asks if he is going to hurt the Duke's daughter. He coldly replies that she must tell the truth. Otherwise, he will fall into eternal sleep right here. Irina asks if, even if she is the only one who knows where his brother is, he still won't believe her. Irina says his brother was kidnapped and is now in the northern village of Assyria. He has lost his memory and therefore cannot return on his own. Therefore, we can't delay. He needs to be rescued as quickly as possible before the slave traders find out who he is. The blonde asks what she wants for this information, and Irina replies that everything is very simple. She wants a full report on Duke Sortia. Halcyon wonders if this is all for the sake of such a deal, but Irina grins and says that's not all. She needs him to steal the Archbishop's rosary straight from the capital's central shrine. At this moment, one of the servants asks the master what these things are. The Archduke replies that these are gifts. And the servant asks in surprise who so many of them are for. The brunette says that it's obvious, because all this is for a marriage proposal. The butler cries out in shock, asking if he'd misheard, and reminds him that he should first inquire about the lady's tastes. The young man calmly replies that he's already done so. The servant asks incredulously if this is really the set he is going to propose with, and if gifts shouldn't be beautiful. The brunette asks not to worry and says he's prepared something beautiful too. The servant asks what exactly. The gentleman replies that he is himself, after which his interlocutor again cries out in shock. The Archduke simply mounts his horse and says that the servant is too noisy, so he should better load the gifts into the carriage. At this time, someone informs the Empress that he has prepared a special reward for the Archduke. The woman clarifies whether she is talking about today's victory ceremony. The man replies that the reward is far more interesting, and the Empress realizes she has no idea what he's up to again. She also wonders what kind of child this is, but he realizes that it is thanks to him that the man has access to the Akashic records. This is a divine power passed down from generation to generation. It connects the mind with the world's library of knowledge. By leaving the body in reality and entering it with the soul, one can unlock any knowledge. However, there is a condition. To receive this power, a person must be spiritually pure, and their mind completely empty to accommodate such a volume of information. The Empress understands that this is like a lifelong education, and the man confirms her thought. He says that, judging by everything, Archduke Ruslan is ready to propose. And if he's decided to take such a step, it means it's true love, and as a reward, he'll grant a blessing for the marriage that no one can deny. After these words, the Empress puts down the mug and turns to His Majesty. She asks what kind of love we can talk about, and whether he has forgotten what kind of blood flows in his veins. It seems unthinkable to her that a monster with a demonic red liquid could love someone. The Emperor addresses her, and the woman rises, suggesting that they stop such conversations. Her husband insists that the Archduke is serious, and he senses it. But the Empress says it's time to go out, because the long-awaited victory ceremony is already beginning. People are whispering in the streets, and one of the girls says that she heard that the Archduke is incredibly handsome, and she can't believe that she will see him in person. At that moment, someone announces that he's about to arrive. Irina realizes the original ceremony was much more modest. She hopes that this time everything will go smoothly, but then the herald announces that the Empire's chief sword, His Highness Archduke Ruslan Alexei of Deked, has arrived. He calls out to greet the hero who has returned home safely. Irina looks at him. She wonders if he really is the novel's protagonist. The crowd admires him and asks if he's real. People are amazed at his form, and Bella tells Irina that he is even more beautiful than they said. Irina agrees and finds herself unable to take her eyes off him. At this moment, the Emperor comes out and greets Archduke Ruslan. The brunette bows respectfully. He greets the son of the Empire, and the Emperor says that he is impressed by his exploits. He notes that Ruslan closed all the demonic gates for the sake of the country. He replies that it is his duty, and the Emperor declares he has prepared a reward. He calls the secretary, who begins reading out the list. Irina wonders if Ruslan Severny will receive the Icy Peninsula, as in the original, but the secretary announces the 10,000-year-old ginseng found by the previous emperor, the crystal core of a 1,000-year-old snake, as well as mork scales and about 100 other medicines. Irina, shocked, wonders if this is all the reward for her combat service. The ladies whisper among themselves, wondering if this is what the Archduke wanted and why the reward seems so modest. The Emperor turns to Ruslan and asks if he would like anything else. The man replies that he has one request, and when His Majesty asks what it is, Ruslan says he wants the son of the Empire to bless his marriage. The ladies immediately realize he truly loves this girl. Irina is confused and doesn't understand what kind of wedding they are talking about. She wonders if he has found true love, or if he has met the main character of the novel. It seems that even the Duke is unaware of what is going on, and this confuses her. The Emperor says that he knew it. His intuition did not fail him, and he cannot wait to find out the name of this lady. He declares that he blesses the marriage on behalf of the Empire, and Irina understands that everything is very bad. She is sorry that he has already found his love, because her life directly depends on this marriage. After some time, the aristocrats gather at a ball, and Irina realizes that the plot is very different from the original, and everything is becoming too complicated. Ruslan unexpectedly asked for a blessing, and the Emperor immediately granted it. Irina doesn't understand what's going on. After all, Even the Duke himself didn't know about this, and Ruslan spoke as if the wedding was a done deal. Irina wonders if she really needs to seduce Ruslan when the arrival of the Emperor, Empress, and Archduke is announced. She looks at Ruslan and realizes that in real life, he is much more handsome than in the novel. His body looks flawless, and this embarrasses her even more. Suddenly, it seems to her that he is watching her. She doubts that she is mistaken, but his look and smile say otherwise. Irina is taken aback by his smirk and direct gaze when someone notices how beautiful she is today. It turns out to be Marquis Eigold. The girl asks why he has approached her. He replies that Duke Sordi has done him the honor of inviting her to dance. Irina smiles, though inside she's seething with anger. The Marquis says she's blossomed like a flower. Irina laughs awkwardly and compares him to the distinguished scholar Jindriga III. After this, he offers her a dance, and Ruslan watches what is happening. The Archduke then turns to the Emperor and says that he needs to leave for a short time. The Emperor is surprised, and Ruslan replies that he wants to dance, adding that His Majesty will soon understand everything. Irina is wondering whether she should step on the Marquis's foot and pretend that she dances badly. But suddenly someone puts a hand on the Marquis's shoulder and declares that this lady is already taken. The brunette apologizes to Irina and asks if she will do him the honor of dancing. Irina is shocked and wonders if Archduke Ruslan himself invited her. She accepts the invitation and finds herself wondering if he is going to marry her. But then he remembers that this is their first meeting, and it all sounds too strange. In any case, dancing with such a man is much more pleasant than with that old guy. In the novel, it was said that Ruslan couldn't dance, but now it's clear that he prepared seriously. This seems strange to Irina. Suddenly, he says he can give her what she wants. Irina asks if this is true, and if he really knows her thoughts. He answers in the affirmative. He adds that she wants to be kidnapped, but doesn't have time to finish because someone sneezes. The butler begins to cough loudly and complains that he feels ill. Irina notices that the assistant looks unwell, but Ruslan asks her to ignore it. He invites her to go out onto the terrace for a short while after the dance. Irina asks why, and he, coming closer, says that he has a gift for her. She is surprised. But at that moment, the music ends. Ruslan bows and says that he will wait for her on the terrace, but Irina cannot stop thinking about the gift. Going outside, she sees Ruslan among the blooming lilacs. As she comes closer, he asks her if she likes the flower. Irina realizes that she loves lilacs because the slime always brought them. She wonders how he knows this, but Ruslan says that he also likes lilacs. Irina is a little scared by this, and it all sounds too much like a confession. She thanks him for the dance and the flowers and asks why he is so kind to her. He awkwardly replies that there is no need for a reason for this, but Irina reminds him that he was talking about his beloved. She wonders if he has found out about the Duke's bullying and is now trying to appease her. Irina says that if he needs her help, he doesn't have to try so hard. She is ready to cooperate, and Ruslan replies that he is glad to hear it and wants to do something together with her. But when he is about to speak about the kidnapping, the butler bursts in and shouts that it is impossible. Ruslan asks what is the matter, and the servant introduces himself as Vasily Mutin and bows to Irina. He apologizes and says that he has urgent business with the gentleman, asking the lady to leave them for a while. Irina agrees and is immediately escorted out. She's sorry the conversation was cut short. The butler is indignant and asks what the gentleman is thinking about when he talks about kidnapping and captivity. Ruslan replies that he is talking about a wedding, and the servant, shocked, asks again if he is serious. He reminds that everything must proceed gradually. Otherwise, if the Duke finds out, war cannot be avoided. Ruslan says that's why he wanted to kidnap her at first, but the butler kept interfering. He asks if they should start with the wedding right away, and the servant again does not understand what is happening to his master. He confidently replies that he'll propose to her tomorrow. These words leave the butler in shock. He almost falls and declares that His Highness had better immediately put him into eternal sleep. The brunette wonders why he should do this, but the servant insists that if he really is going to propose, then he should finish it right away. His Highness replies that he will not go back on his word. The butler reflects on how stubborn he is and decides that the proposal cannot be allowed to happen tomorrow. The servant says he doesn't think the lady will like the way things are going so quickly. The master wonders if this is true, and the servant confirms, quietly adding that the situation seems strange. Proposing without much communication is silly, and not at all romantic. The brunette asks what the best course of action is then. and the servant understands that his words have finally gotten through. The gentleman admits that he trained a lot, because she said that she likes men with a good body. Now he's afraid of being rejected. The butler is shocked, as his master had never behaved like this before. He asks what else the lady likes, but the brunette wearily repeats that she enjoys kidnapping. The servant cries out, asking him to stop, and he agrees. The butler explains that one must first find out the lady's tastes and remember that a proposal is far from the first step. At this moment, a man approaches Irina and asks her to do him the honor of dancing. She says with a smile that her head is spinning, but she curses to herself, suspecting that her father has sent someone again. She apologizes again, and the man replies that it's okay. Irina understands that it is difficult to constantly refuse and decides to go out into the hallway so as not to disturb anyone. As soon as she does, someone comes up and greets her. Irina turns around, but the guy takes off his mask and asks, offended, why she is so surprised. She asks what he expected by approaching her so suddenly, and he replies that he expected a different reaction. Irina wonders if they managed to find his brother in the place she spoke of. The blonde confirms that his brother was taken from there safe and sound and thanks her. He hands her the rosary she was looking for, and Irina thanks him. The guy asks what she is going to do with him, whether she has decided to become religious. In response, Irina breaks the rosary, and the guy is shocked, admitting that it is impressive. She explains that she didn't need the rosary itself, but the lapis lazuli inside it. Archduke Ruslan has always been obsessed with fighting demons to prevent them from breaking free. To do this, he needed a sacred object that cleanses the spirit, namely lapis lazuli, the light of which indicates filth. Irina realizes that the Duke already has half the stone, and she now has the whole one. With its help, she can strike a deal with Ruslan and find an antidote to Kalinda's poison in the Forest of the Dead. The blonde says he hopes for success and asks if she needs anything else. Irina replies that she has a request and asks to find out about the man in the north. About a man with a scar under his eye, because she also has a friend whom she wants to save. After a while, the brunette sits opposite Irina and she wonders why he came. First a dance, then a visit home, as if he specifically wants to please the capital's gossips. Ruslan says that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and Irina agrees. She thinks she saw him yesterday, but she still has an important conversation. She offers to discuss the cooperation he mentioned earlier, but at that moment the maids enter the room with tea. They put down the tray and stand against the wall, whispering quietly. Irina understands that the Duke ordered them to monitor what was happening. She needed to talk to Ruslan about the infirmary, but the tea appeared too quickly. She offers him a drink, apologizing for the modest table, and saying that if she had been warned, she would have prepared better. Ruslan replies that he arrived without warning, and that is enough for him. Irina thanks him, but feels awkward and doesn't know what to say next. She considers whether to try to seduce him, remembering the advice about touching. Ruslan notices her movement and looks more closely. He asks if she feels uncomfortable, and Irina replies that everything is fine. She thinks that she has little understanding of seduction because her experience was limited to fantasies. Irina asks if he liked the tea, and he answers in the affirmative. He says he is not an expert, but the aroma is pleasant, and she is happy about it. She adds that this is their favorite tea, and Ruslan becomes embarrassed. He thanks her, and Irina notices how cute his ears are red. Suddenly she feels ill, and catching his gaze, she understands the reason. She forgot to drink the antidote for Kalina, and this is very dangerous. We can't let Ruslan notice this, because then he will never want to get married. Ruslan asks how she feels, recalling the rumors about her poor health. Irina smiles and says that she used to be weak, but now she eats well and is healthy. Ruslan stands up abruptly and says that this can't go on any longer. He declares that he must take her north immediately, and Irina does not understand what he is talking about. Ruslan says that now is not the time to explain, but asks to go to his lands as soon as possible. Irina decides that this is an invitation to the estate and happily accepts. But Ruslan says he meant something completely different. He proposes to her and turns to Lady Irina Sordi. He asks her to marry him, and Irina doesn't believe what she hears. The marriage she has been working towards for so long is finally becoming a reality, and she will be able to leave the estate. Irina agrees and accepts his proposal. Ruslan rejoices, kisses her hand, and says that he will immediately send an assistant to the north to announce the marriage. Later, the knights discuss the news, not believing that the Archduke decided to marry the daughter of their family's enemy. Someone turns to Vasily in shock, asking him again what he said. The woman clarifies whether it is true that Ruslan and the Duke of Sordy's daughter are planning to get married. Vasily replies that His Highness insisted on marriage, and the woman is interested in whether it is possible to convince him otherwise. She admits that she is looking forward to this wedding. The Duke turns to Irina and says that he heard about the proposal. Irina confirms this and thinks that soon she will no longer have to see his face. The Duke orders the maid to bring the abandoned document. He demands that Irina sign it before the Archduke changes his mind. She signs and, looking at Ruslan's signature, is surprised by his neat handwriting. This guy is really full of surprises, and despite his cold appearance, he is quite nice. The Duke says the wedding will be simplified and the prenuptial mass will be held in a week. Irina wants to say that there is too little time for preparation, but she is interrupted and asked if this is what she wanted to say. She answers evasively, and the man reminds her of the flower on her wrist. He says that she must put Ruslan into eternal sleep, and Irina agrees, claiming that she knows. She thinks her true target is the Duke, not Ruslan, when someone asks if she will be okay. Bella says that marrying such a man is scary, and there are rumors that he is a monster. It is also said that the demons were destroyed too quickly, but Irina replies that these are just rumors. She doesn't care who he is, because she just wants to run away, and no one has canceled the divorce. The lady with red hair tells Irina that the Duke ordered her to be sent along with her. She has to watch Irina drink the poison, and apologizes for not being able to help. Irina tells Bella that everything is fine, because if she stops drinking poison, they will notice, and there will be problems. She asks Bella not to worry, saying that soon she will have nothing to regret. Later, the Empress congratulates Ruslan on his wedding. She says it is a special event and she did not expect this after the war. Ruslan replies that he is glad that Her Majesty already knows about this. The Empress says he has the power to put demons into eternal sleep and conquer continents. But there is one thing that cannot be destroyed, and she is sure he understands. Ruslan asks if she means the demonic red liquid in his veins. She confirms this, calling it his only flaw and recalling the defenders of the Empire. Their family bore this curse because of one man's mistake. Possessed by a humanoid demon, he fathered a child, and without the red liquid, the family goes mad. Ruslan says that they rarely live to be 40 years old because a demonic force plunges them into eternal sleep. Their bodies are buried in the forest, where the previous archdukes themselves ended their journey, feeling the end approaching. Only the Archduke and the imperial family knew about this, so the boy asks why she even brought this up. The woman suggests speaking directly and warns that if he uses this marriage to strengthen his power and takes the Duke's side, the imperial family will not spare him. The boy barely suppresses his laughter and asks if she's hinting at a conspiracy with the Duke of Sordy. After this, he seriously says that he is not going to shake his hands, but to cut them off. His goal is to put Duke Sordy into eternal sleep, so that Her Majesty can rest easy and celebrate. The woman says she'll remember his words and lets him go. The guy bows and turns away, accepting her permission. The Empress sees in his gaze that he is determined. Meanwhile, people on the street are discussing the unexpected news of the wedding. One woman says that the Duke is probably very worried because he will have to part with his daughter, although with such a handsome groom, everything will be fine. Others add that he is even more handsome in his dress uniform, and everyone is wondering how beautiful Lady Sordy is. After some time, the main character's carriage arrives, and the girl addresses the Archduke. She asks if he really came to meet her, and admits that she is very pleased. The guy is embarrassed, and Irina looks at him again with a smile. At this point, the father intervenes and says that everyone is already waiting, so it's time to go in, and the lady agrees. The brunette replies that they'll see each other inside. Soon he's already sitting in the church. The priest turns to Irina and asks if she is ready, and the girl answers in the affirmative, asking him to bless them. The priest explains that at the Duke's request, the ceremony will be simplified and suggests that they confess their love to each other and sign vows. But suddenly a man bursts into the church and shouts for Irina to wait. It turns out to be her brother, and the girl asks in surprise if he shouldn't be at war. The guy replies that he heard about the wedding and immediately hurried home. He cannot believe that his sister is getting married without him and is about to protest. But his father stops him. He asks if the war really ended so quickly just for his younger sister's wedding. The father says that this is a happy day for Irina and invites his son to sit next to her. The priest suggests starting the ceremony and says that in this holy place, before God, two people vow to go through all difficulties together. He asks the groom if he vows to cherish and love his bride all his life. He answers that he swears, and the priest asks the same question to the bride. Irina realizes that she is standing in a wedding dress and making a vow before God, and it is incredibly exciting. She agrees and thinks they look like true lovers. Then they are asked to sign a prenuptial agreement. The main character signs and understands that now she needs to be especially careful, for from this moment on, her long-awaited revenge begins. The priest pronounces them husband and wife. A little later, Irina's brother says he must speak with the Archduke. The brunette replies that his brother-in-law can speak to him however he wants, and the brother irritably asks him again what he called him. Valentin understands that this man has just gotten married and is already calling him brother-in-law. He says he has never seen a nobleman marry so quickly, and he adds that this is only possible if the sister was not threatened. Irina insists that everything is not like that, and the brunette calmly says that they are simply right for each other. Valentine is indignant and asks not to call him that, as he's younger. The Archduke replies that since he and Irina are married, it's perfectly logical. The young man then sarcastically suggests that they simply get a divorce. Irina, watching them, understands that they are about to clash. She says that her brother is behaving this way out of love, takes him by the hand, and offers to go out. On the street, a girl asks what's the matter, and whether he came to congratulate her. The guy replies that he didn't come for that, and says that he thought she was being forced into marriage. He gets angry and repeats that this man is not right for her. Irina tries to calm him down. He doesn't understand how such an innocent girl can live with such a demon, and she wonders how her brother is so different from Ruslan. Irina asks him not to worry, and asks if he will come to her aid if something happens. The guy assures her that he will definitely come and will never leave her. He hands over a map of secret passages around the Archduchy. If she becomes in danger, she must run, and he will definitely take her away. Irina is touched and thanks her brother. He remembers her request and says that the soldiers saw an unusual slime. Irina asks to tell more details. Valentin says it was a large blue slime with wounds on its body. Clear liquid was leaking from it and there was a scar under its eye. Irina realizes that it is him and asks if they have declared a hunt for him. The guy nods and says that the forest suddenly caught fire and they had to retreat. She asks how it happened, and her brother admits that they don't know, but he thinks that the fire was caused deliberately by magic. Irina is worried, because the slime wouldn't be able to escape with such wounds. The brother says the chances of survival were slim, but he was heading toward the Archduke's estate. Irina, shocked, asks again. She did ask him to flee to the north, but Valentin assumes that he was looking for a place to fall into eternal sleep. Or he considered the Archduchy safer. Valentin apologizes for such news. Irina asks not to apologize and says that she still believes that the slime is alive. She understands that he is special and could have survived. At least that's what she wants to believe. Valentin agrees. He asks whether to continue the search, and Irina replies that this is enough for now. The guy nods and jokes that he'll find her some smarter slimes. Irina smiles, asks him to stop, and thanks him. The brother is surprised that she thanks him, and he says that men like him are the best. He asks about the reward, and Irina remembers that she has something. She gives her brother something she no longer needs, and he asks what it is. Irina says that this is his reward and that she can help a little. Valentin is surprised, and she explains that it is a very expensive thing. He promises to keep it until he plunges into eternal sleep. Valentin says that he would also like to give her something. He promises to get an antidote, but Irina assures that everything is fine. She adds that she will not fall into eternal sleep so easily and knows where it is. The brother sighs heavily and says that his sister is still just as naive. He worries about how hard it will be for her to be married to a war demon, but Irina asks him to stop. Valentin agrees and says that if she wants a divorce, he will sort everything out. Irina smiles and promises to let them know. After that, they return to the church. Ruslan asks if they are finished, and Irina thanks him for waiting. The guy comes closer and says that now they are a real family. Irina asks if he calls her his wife, and he answers in the affirmative. He says it's right now. Irina sheepishly admits that she simply feels unused. The guy smiles and says that he is not going to be a husband in words only. It is important for him to fulfill his marital duty properly. Irina becomes embarrassed and wonders what exactly he is talking about. Valentin indignantly reminds them that they are in a holy place. He takes his sister by the hand and says that he will send a messenger when she is ready to go north. When they leave, the brunette puts his hand on his chest and feels how quickly his heart is beating. He realizes they're truly married. After a while, Irina asks him to wait. The guy asks her if she is afraid of him and she says no. She admits that this is her first time and she has no experience at all. He reassures her and says that he will take care of everything and wants to be a husband not only on paper. He wants to live up to his wife's expectations, and Irina asks what he means. The guy comes closer and she puts her hand on his chest. At this moment, it seems to her that it is too soft, and a slime appears before her eyes. The girl suddenly wakes up and screams, asking what kind of strange dream it was. And why did she see the slime now? Because the scene was too exciting. After the wedding ceremony, she's been having similar dreams every night, and she doesn't mind at all. A little time passes, and the maids become even more fussy, one of them saying that everything needs to be finished before the Archduke arrives. One asks where the new bed linen is, and the other replies that Marie is already bringing it. But the maid notices that the new carpet has not been delivered and wonders what to do now. In response, they tell her that they will check everything now, and if they bring a blanket, then let him be immersed in eternal sleep. The magicians are also restoring order in the castle, and one of the servants notices that the mansion has not been so crowded for a long time. The woman agrees and says that the Duke even ordered the magicians to cast a warming spell on all the walls for the sake of the lady. This had not happened since her time in service to Archduchess Olga, and now the mansion had become unusually hot. The butler remarks that she doesn't seem to like it, after which the woman falls silent for a moment. Then she admits that at first she was glad about the arrival of her master and mistress, because he had spent so much energy and health on wars, and then he decided to get married, and this made her happy, reminding her of his parents. But she still doesn't understand why the choice fell on the Duke of Sordy's daughter. Even in a nightmare, you wouldn't want to see something like this, and if the young man's ancestors were alive, they would be furious. The butler replies that he understands her concern, but since everything has already been decided, nothing can be changed. Besides, the Duke is not one to act thoughtlessly. He probably has a plan, and they have to be on his side. He just hopes that everything will work out, and the woman irritably says that this makes her angry and goes off to do her business. Another maid heard all this, after which she went to Mrs. Nadezhda. The woman asks what she needs, since she is busy, and Maria replies that she has brought news. She explains that the mansion is now warm due to a magic spell cast by order of the Archduke for the arrival of the lady. The woman asks why all this is happening, and Maria says that they are talking about the lady's poor health. The lady sighs and says that this is her territory, and her brother didn't even bother to ask her opinion. Maria asks if this should be stopped, but the lady replies no and orders her to forget about it. She remarks ironically that the northern mansion is being turned into a greenhouse and asks if that's funny. She recalls that, upon learning of her wedding with the Duke of Sordy's daughter, she immediately decided that it was a marriage of convenience. Moreover, he started spending the budget calculated until the end of the year, although he had never touched it before, and the lady does not understand what he is thinking about. She doesn't like this at all, because everything she worked for so long is starting to fall apart. She asks Maria to monitor the situation and report everything, and the girl agrees. The lady with black hair clearly understands that she will not give the mansion to Irina Sordia. No way. Meanwhile, the main character is riding in a carriage, and she's informed that they will soon arrive at the Archduchy. She looks out the window and recognizes Ruslan's mansion. After a short time, she gets out of the carriage and addresses the Archduke. He greets her and congratulates her on her arrival north, noting the long journey, and she thanks him for waiting. She points to Bella and says that she will stay with her. Bella bows and happily confirms her service. The main character shivers and admits that it is much colder in the north than she expected. The brunette explains that because of her weak body, the cold is felt more intensely. He takes her hand and notices how cold it is, saying that the mansion was specially insulated, and invites her in. She asks if magic was used, and he replies that there is more to it. He assures her that she will like it inside, and soon she enters the estate, surprised by the warmth. Ruslan says it's not the temperature of her homeland, but they did everything they could. The lady smiles, thanks him for his concern, and says that she can live here comfortably. He smiles back and says he hopes so, and the servants greet her as Archduchess. The man introduces himself as Gregory, the butler, and the woman next to him introduces herself as Olga, the head maid. The brunette tells his wife that they have been serving his family for a long time and can be trusted. Irina asks them to take care of her, and they tell her that she can call them any time. At this moment, someone turns to the Archduke and notices the Archduchess. He greets her, and Irina recognizes Vasily's assistant and says that she is glad to meet him. The young man smiles and says that he is honored that she remembers his name, and that thanks to her, the mansion has become beautiful and warm, after which Ruslan asks him to get down to business. Vasily reports that a patrol detachment has arrived with an urgent report, and the Archduke needs to go to the office. Ruslan sighs and says that he wanted to show the mansion to his wife himself, but nothing can be done, and Irina assures him that everything is fine. He asks Gregory to take care of the lady and show her the mansion. The butler agrees and asks permission to accompany her. Irina looks after her husband and realizes how touched she is by his concern. Later, the butler finishes the tour and says that after a long journey, she must be tired, offering to show her to her room, and she agrees. On the way, Irina wonders if this is their shared room and awkwardly asks. The butler explains that according to northern traditions, the lady initially lives in the guest room. He says that this way she will be able to rest. And Irina admits that she is glad about this, because after that dream she was worried about sharing a bed. The butler jokes that he can talk to the Archduke if she is disappointed, but she refuses. He escorts her to the room, informs her that dinner will be served there, and leaves, and Irina thanks him. She turns to Bella, who notices that the Northerners are much friendlier than expected. Irina takes off her jacket, falls onto the bed, and rejoices at how soft it is. Bella agrees, remembering the hard beds, but at that moment, there is a knock on the door. Bella immediately gets up and opens the door. A woman enters the room, thanks her, and introduces herself as the Archduke's younger sister, named Nadezhda. Irina replies that she is glad to meet her, and Nadezhda says that she understands how tired she is. She came to say something important, and Irina asks what it is about. Nadezhda says that the conversation is serious and asks to leave them for a while. Bella agrees and leaves. Left alone, the brunette says that she heard something about the lady. She mentions that Irina never left the Duchy of Sorty, and she confirms, adding that she used to be very weak. Nadezhda says that it will be difficult for a person with such a condition to take the place of the Archduchess. She explains that she has taken over the duties of her mother, the former Archduchess. Therefore, he suggests that she continue to play this role, and asks if Irina really wants to be an Archduchess. Irina just smiles. She asks why Nadezhda is so kind, admitting that she cannot work much yet and does not know much about local affairs. Therefore, it seems right to her that an experienced lady will take over the management. This angers Nadezhda, and she wonders how Irina Sorty, with such a mindset, ever became an Archduchess. After a while, the brunette bursts into the office and apologizes, and the servant asks what happened. The butler says that he was going to see her, but she asks Vasily to leave them for a minute. When the servant leaves, Ruslan asks his sister what happened. Nadezhda admits that she cannot accept the Archduchess. He asks her to explain, and she says she should be more precise. Irina Sorty has no right to manage this house, and Ruslan clarifies whether she understands her words. Nadezhda asks if he has thought about what it would be like to accept the Duke's daughter as the mistress of their house. At first, she thought that the wedding was necessary so that the Sorty family would stop sending spies. But now he spends his entire budget for one person who doesn't care about their family. She asks if he is ashamed in front of his parents, who have fallen into eternal sleep. Ruslan replies that he sincerely wanted to marry Irina. Nadezhda screams in disbelief, and he says that now she is Alexieva. His sister asks if he is serious, and he says that Erdana is sweet, kind, and fragile. He asks her to stop seeing her as just the Duke's daughter, and warns that otherwise he will consider this a rejection of the family. Nadezhda becomes furious, thinking that he put this girl above her, although she values her family more than anyone else. She says out loud that they will see, and if she is right, Irina will not be able to survive in this house. She advises her brother to remember this, while Irina lies in bed and thinks about food. Soon she smells a pleasant aroma and hears a knock on the door. She asks who is there, and someone behind the door answers, addressing her as his wife. Irina opens the door and is surprised because he said he would be busy all evening. Ruslan replies that he will never leave her to dine alone. He says that he specifically ordered the food to be served here, and Irina understands the source of the smell. She thanks him and admits that she is very hungry. The servants bring in the dishes, and she notices that they are similar to those prepared by the slime. She remembers the lilac, these dishes, and realizes that when she's around Ruslan, she often thinks about the slime, and he asks the maids to leave. When they leave, Ruslan invites her to sit down and try the food, and after trying the soup, she thinks how delicious it is. Ruslan asks if she likes it, and she replies that yes, and everything is really delicious. He says that if his wife is happy, then he is happy too, and Irina thinks how strange it is because Ruslan looks so much like a slime. He notices her gaze and asks if his face is dirty, and Irina replies that everything is fine. The main character admits that, looking at Ruslan, she remembers an old friend. He was a smart and kind child, and it was his kindness that warmed her back then, which is why he resembles the Archduke so much. Ruslan says he's happy about this, and promises to be the best husband he can be to his wife. And somewhere in the past, the slime crawled through the snow, knowing he had to protect Irina and save her at any cost. He recalled the lady's kind smile, but the pain from his wound intensified. When he reached the Archduchy and saw the mansion, he felt even more pain and thought this might be the end for him. Slime knew that if he had another chance, he would become stronger and protect Irina. At that moment, the brunette suddenly opened his eyes and shuddered. He sighs, realizing he's had that dream again and knows he needs to disappear for a while. Later, Bella comes to Irina, apologizes, and says that today the Duke ordered to check whether she is taking poison. Irina calmly replies that everything is fine and asks for poison. When Bella starts to object, Irina assures her that she has nothing to worry about. She asks you to trust her, and then knocks out the mug of poison. The lady notices 4 petals blooming on her wrist, and realizes that they must be neutralized before the demon appears. Archduke Ruslan has left on an inspection tour, and this opportunity must be taken advantage of. Irina asks Bella if she can call the head butler, and the girl agrees. After a little while, the man comes, and Irina thanks him for responding. The butler says she doesn't need to be so formal, and Irina smiles and replies she's just not used to it yet. He asks her to address him however she feels comfortable. She agrees and says she needs his help. When asked what's wrong, Irina replies that as Archduchess, she must pay tribute to her ancestors. The butler is surprised and asks if she wants to go to the forest where her ancestors are buried. Irina confirms and says she knows it's a sacred place. The man agrees, but warns that it is full of demons and not all have been destroyed, so it is dangerous for the lady to go there alone. Irina replies that danger does not relieve her of her duties and orders that she be escorted. The butler understands that she is fragile on the outside, but very strong on the inside, and he realizes that the Archduke has fallen in love with an unusual girl, but still cannot go with her. He apologizes and says that he cannot take her there because the place is too dangerous and the path is difficult. To enter, you need a key, which is currently in the possession of Lady Nadezhda, a blood relative of the Archduke. Irina realizes that knowing the entrance alone is not enough and decides that she will have to get the key. She says she understands and will speak to the lady herself. Meanwhile, Nadezhda sighs, thinking about how little money is left due to the exorcism and the renovations. There is a knock at the door, and the maid announces that Her Highness wishes to meet. Nadezhda ponders what exactly Irina wants and orders her to be taken to the living room. Soon, Irina comes in and greets Nadezhda, who asks what brought her so early. Irina says she needs a service that only she can help with. Before Nadezhda can finish her thought, Irina asks for help getting into the forest of the undead, explaining that she wants to honor the ancestors of Ruslan's house. Irina adds that for this she needs a key, which is kept by Nadezhda, and she asks if she knows what this place is. Then Nadezhda smiles and says that on behalf of the family she thanks her, assuring that the ancestors will be touched. Irina replies that it is her duty and thanks Nadezhda, who smiles and says that later Irina will be even more grateful to her. Soon, Nadezhda helps open the gate, and Irina sees a gloomy forest of the undead. However, her heart is at peace and she feels relieved. Nadezhda remembers her work and worries that Irina will have to go alone. Irina assures her that she can handle it herself, but Nadezhda still clarifies whether everything will be okay. Irina says that she will return soon, and Nadezhda is surprised by her courage. In the forest, Irina thinks that there must be an antidote somewhere here and decides to take advantage of the chance while it lasts. The Duke has left, and Nadezhda is unlikely to open the gate again, so it's time to begin the search. Thanks to Kalinda's poison, she blends into the forest, and the demons don't notice her. She notices an unusual fruit and other rare plants, examining them carefully. After some time, Irina realizes that she has collected everything that interested her. She takes out Halcyon's magic pouch and thanks him mentally, but the antidote has still not been found. Irina understands that she needs to leave before sunset, but notices an ancient tree. She comes closer and is surprised that she didn't know about such an old tree. Irina sees an unusual fruit and remembers that the antidote looks like a golden, glowing fruit, so she decides to take it, but hears a strange sound. A snake appears in front of her, ready to attack, and Irina does not understand whether it is a snake or a monster. The creature crawls closer, her body doesn't obey, and Irina closes her eyes, deciding that this is the end, but instead of a blow, she feels a light touch. She screams and pulls her hand away, and the snake crawls away, and Irina is surprised, as if she was understood. Irina asks if she was going to attack, and the snake crawls away, as if calling her to follow. Irina follows and notices the light, realizing that the tree is glowing. She sees the golden fruit and understands that it is an antidote that can not only remove the poison, but also restore strength, so she eats it immediately. The petals on her wrist disappear, and Irina rejoices, feeling that she is becoming stronger. Suddenly, she loses consciousness and falls, and when she wakes up later, she clutches her head, realizing that she has passed out. Looking back, she notices that the snake has disappeared, the tree no longer glows, and a light is spreading inside her, like a divine blessing. Irina understands that, having learned to control this power, she will become very strong, and decides to return before dark, but loses her way. She realizes that she is lost, the sun has almost set, and she hears footsteps and a branch breaking. Irina thinks it's a monster, but she hears a familiar sound and turns around. She sees a round blue body with a scar and realizes that it is Slime. Irina rejoices and calls him, but he screams furiously. She is surprised, thinking that he has forgotten her, and says that it is she. Slime touches her hand and asks what she's doing alone in such a place. Irina is glad he remembers her and surprised to see him here. She asks why he didn't go to Choco Forest and if he knows how long she's been looking for him, but Slime remains silent, crossing his arms. Irina picks him up and says the important thing is that they met. Slime looks embarrassed, but she admits she missed him. She asks if he missed her, and he replies that yes, but it's not time yet. After which he runs away and Irina rushes after him. Out of breath, she wonders why he is running away, and suddenly loses sight of him, but hears a voice. Turning around, she sees the butler. He says he's been waiting for her and worried, and Irina realizes Slime has led her to the exit. She apologizes for disturbing her, and the butler says that Nadezhda was also worried and asks her to return to the house quickly. As she leaves, Irina looks back at the forest and thinks that her meeting with Slime was not her last. At the estate, a maid notices Irina's dirty clothes, and she replies that it is a secret. Ruslan soon returns and tells the butler that his wife was in the forest of the undead. The butler tries to say something, but Ruslan asks if Nadezhda had the key. He orders her to be called into the office, and Irina watches from behind a column. Nadezhda is surprised how her brother found out everything and enters the office. Ruslan asks if she let Irina into the forest, and Nadezhda replies that she could not refuse the Archduchess. He says she knew about the danger but allowed it anyway, and Nadezhda doesn't know what to answer when there's a knock on the door. Irina apologizes for interfering and asks Ruslan not to be strict with Nadezhda. She admits that she insisted on her way despite warnings and apologizes for her recklessness. Ruslan wants to say something, but Irina asks to let her talk to him herself, and Nadezhda is surprised by her defense. Nadezhda leaves, and Irina sighs, realizing that she went into the forest and interrupted the conversation. Ruslan asks why she protected Nadezhda, admitting that he was worried about her. Irina is surprised by his concern and asks why he is so worried about her. He shyly replies that she is very dear to him, and Irina is at a loss for words. She thinks that all this is strange because this did not happen in the original, and does not understand why Ruslan is so disposed towards her. She recalls that from the first time they met, he showed interest in her, as if he had known her for a long time. Irina asks if they have met before, because he was kind from the very beginning and suddenly proposed. Ruslan remains silent and then confirms that they have seen each other before, but does not say when. He says it's a long story and will tell it later, noting that it's already late. He invites her to rest and, citing business, wishes her good night. Having closed the door, Irina is left alone and thinks whether she is really so dear to him, because she does not remember their last meeting. She notices Nadezhda and asks why she is here, and Nadezhda says that she has a question. Nadezhda awkwardly admits that she doesn't understand why Irina stood up for her, knowing her true intentions. She expects a catch, but Irina only calmly explains the reason. Irina says that she simply told the truth and didn't want them to fight because of her, and Nadezhda is surprised by this. She recalls how, in her youth, some people helped her and others demanded payment. Nadezhda thought that Irina would demand something in return, but she didn't ask for anything. Irina says that she understands how much Nadezhda values her family and why she doesn't love it. She promises that as Archduchess, she will do everything for this family and asks Nadezhda to believe in and protect the house. Nadezhda shakes her hand and says that time will tell, and then Irina leaves, leaving Nadezhda in doubt. Nadezhda reminds herself that Irina is still of the Sordi family and decides to find out more about her. Meanwhile, the blonde reads the documents and sees two requests from the north. One from Irina asking for herbs, which seems boring to him. The second request from Nadezhda is to gather information about Irina, and he realizes that he already knows a lot. He recalls how he investigated the affairs of the Duke of Sordi and realized that behind the image of a reasonable man lurked a cruel fanatic. Using dark powers, the blonde feels a bad feeling, thinking that this man is pursuing dangerous goals. A little later, the servants in the estate begin to noticeably bustle. Irina, observing this, asks Bella if she thinks the mansion is too noisy today. She agrees, and Irina suggests that perhaps they are preparing for a reception. Bella replies that that would be nice. Then Bella cautiously asks Irina if everything will be all right if she stops taking the poison. She can hide this from the Duke for a while, but sooner or later he's sure to notice. Irina confidently replies that everything is under control, asks Bella not to worry, just trust her and not to worry about anything. After these words, Bella agrees and adds that now Irina is an Archduchess, and the Duke will not do anything to her anyway. Irina understands that after the poison and gaining divine power, she no longer has to take it. But suddenly she begins coughing, and Bella, shocked, notices that Irina has been coughing up red fluid more and more often lately, assuming it's because of the poison. Irina tries to calm her down, saying that everything is fine, but Bella screams and says that she will immediately bring the medicine, asking her to wait a little. Left alone, Irina realizes she's already said everything is fine. Even after the poison has been removed, her cough still bothers her, and she hopes it will soon go away on its own. The main thing now is that she still can't control her new power. A little while later, Bella returns with the medicine, and Irina thanks her. Bella asks if Irina still wants to see a doctor, but Irina says the pain has gone away. Meanwhile, Irina wonders how Ruslan used this power in the original, as the book never mentioned it. Bella remembers something else and starts to say she's learned some news while she's been away, but at that moment, there's a knock on the door, announcing Olga's arrival. Irina allows her in. The maid greets the lady and informs her that the newlyweds' room is ready and they have come to help with preparations for their wedding night. Irina, confused, asks again, but the woman is already turning to the other maids, urging them to get busy. They assure Irina that she can rely on them completely. Irina asks to wait a minute and wonders why everything is happening so suddenly. Formally, everything is logical, but in this reality, for some reason, the Archduke immediately liked her. On their wedding day, he even said he would fulfill his marital duties. Besides, the novel was marked for adults, and Irina admits to herself that she's even a little curious about what it will turn out like. One of the maids announces that everything is ready. Looking in the mirror, Irina thinks about how the Archduke will ultimately stay with her, and wonders if everything will be okay if they become closer. After a while, Ruslan stops at the door of the room, realizing the moment has arrived. He knocks and tells his wife it's him. Irina allows him to enter. Ruslan is speechless when he sees her. He comes closer, and Irina asks what's wrong. Ruslan says she looks beautiful. Irina thanks him, and adds that the hairstyle suits him very well too. He cautiously approaches, and asks if he can come closer. After receiving her consent, he kisses her neck, and, noticing a slight reaction, asks if she feels uncomfortable. Irina replies that no, she's just ticklish and looks closely into his blue eyes. Those eyes seem strangely familiar to her. Ruslan kisses her hand and leans toward her face, but just centimeters from his lips, Irina suddenly begins coughing and asks him to wait. A red liquid appears on her lips. She realizes she's coughed right in front of him and frantically thinks about what to do. Irina tries to say something, but Ruslan is already reaching out to her with a trembling hand. He wipes her face and asks why she still has the red liquid, since it shouldn't hurt. Irina notices his hands are shaking and is surprised that the man who put so many monsters into eternal sleep is afraid of this. Irina says she's fine, but Ruslan suddenly hugs her. She asks what's wrong, and he suggests they just stand there for a while. Hugging him back and closing her eyes, Irina feels warmth. The same as that very day. A little while later, she again says that she's fine and nothing serious has happened. But Ruslan wraps her in a blanket, lays her down next to him, and tells her she's very tired, so it's best to rest. They'll wash the sheets later, and Irina agrees. She wonders why all this is happening right now, and understands that, despite everything, Ruslan is the first person who stayed by her side in difficult times. Irina reminds him that he still hasn't told her where they met before. Ruslan replies that she needs to rest now, and he'll tell her later. Irina asks if he promises, and he confirms. She says she'll be waiting impatiently and asks him not to forget, otherwise her curiosity will consume her. Ruslan assures him he'll definitely tell her everything. In the morning, Irina wakes up and realizes she fell asleep here, next to the Archduke. Looking at the spot nearby, she sees a slime and at first thinks it's a dream, but quickly realizes otherwise. In shock, she reaches out to him, feeling his softness, and at that moment the creature opens its eyes and looks at her. Irina can't believe her eyes. She asks why he's here. The slime finally wakes up, feels itself, realizes its slime form again, and screams. Irina asks when he arrived and hopes the Duke didn't see him. Slime shakes his head, and she realizes Ruslan left early, and they were just lucky. Irina asks why he even came here, and whether he understands how dangerous it is. This is, after all, Archduke Ruslan's mansion, and putting the slime into eternal sleep wouldn't be difficult for him. The slime only makes sounds. Irina assumes he's trying to tell her something. The slime makes it clear that Ruslan isn't scary but good. Irina agrees that he's turned out better than expected, and asks how the slime knows him and whether they've met. Slime turns away, and Irina realizes he doesn't want to talk again. She wonders how he knows Ruslan, and whether the Archduke has been caring about him all this time. It seems impossible, and doesn't fit with the image of the man who put all the monsters into eternal sleep. Irina still says she's glad they met before the divorce. Slime asks what she means, and Irina mentions Ruslan. She believes the Archduke should be with her only until then, and then she'll divorce him and take the slime with her. The slime protests sharply, indicating there will be no divorce. Irina asks why, but he replies it doesn't matter. Irina thinks the slime has become more capricious, as if it's going through a transitional phase. At that moment, someone knocks and announces it's time for breakfast. Irina asks to wait a minute. She hides the slime under the bed, sternly asks it not to come out, and opens the door. Bella says she's on her way and enters the room. Bella asks if the Archduke is here, as she thought she heard Irina talking to someone. Irina replies that she must have misheard. Getting ready for breakfast, Irina glances back at the bed and wonders if everything will be okay. Meanwhile, the brunette stands by the door, reminiscing about recent events. She recalls asking in shock if the Archduchess had truly been abused in the Sorti household. She thought Irina's story was full of pain, but they said she was the Duke's favorite daughter. She asked about it directly and was told it was all true. When she asked why her father had treated his daughter so cruelly, she was told he wanted to use her for his own ends. It seemed Irina had defied his will, and that was why she had married into this family. This also explained her journey into the forest of the undead. The brunette believed Irina was trying to escape. Realizing her mistake and that she mistook Irina for a puppet, she decides to apologize. Standing by the door, she ponders what to say, but suddenly hears a voice behind her. It turns out to be Irina. The brunette turns around, and Irina asks what brought her here and if Nadezhda wants to say anything. The woman starts saying the word sorry, but she immediately backs down and says she was just passing by. Irina is surprised by this. Someone remarks that perhaps she wanted to apologize. Turning around, Irina sees Halcyon. He greets her and says they haven't seen each other in a while. Irina asks why he's here, then invites him in and practically pushes him into the office. Halcyon jokes that she has a lot of strength, and Irina worries that someone might have seen them. He hands her the bag and says he sold the herbs for a good price. He confirms that everything is sold out, as he is the master of the Information Guild. He asks where she found such rare herbs, but Irina replies that it's a secret. Then he pulls out a report on Duke Sordia. Irina thanks him, and Halcyon says the Duke isn't mad at all. He's currently hunting for demonic artifacts and has taken an interest in the Archdemon's book. Irina is shocked, because in the original, her father started searching later. Halcyon admits he doesn't know why he needs her, but he doesn't like it. Irina asks him for a favor. She says she knows where he can get a fake golem heart, and asks if he can obtain it and sell it to the Duke. This would weaken the Archdemon. Halcyon thinks for a moment, but agrees with a smile. Irina thanks him, and he says he's pleased to have such confidence. He then asks how her married life is, admitting that he was upset to learn of her marriage. At that moment, a slime suddenly hits him in the face. Irina is shocked and asks if it's really a slime, and then immediately asks if Halcyon is okay. Halcyon replies that it's not quite that big, since the slime, though small, is incredibly strong. Irina scolds Slime for the sudden attack, but he only reacts with indignation. Halcyon says everything's fine, he just feels strange. He looks at the slime with interest, realizing it's the same intelligent slime Irina was talking about. When the slime notices his gaze, it looks back with obvious hostility. Halcyon realizes he's not welcome and asks if he's that friend. Irina confirms and says they recently met. Halcyon is happy she's found her dear friend. Irina thanks him for his help, but the slime makes another noise, startling Halcyon. He stands up and says he'll be going. Irina is surprised, but Halcyon replies that he has given her everything she needs and does not want to become the first person to be put into eternal sleep by a slime. As he leaves, he wishes Irina good luck and promises to contact her later. Slime glares at him, as if forbidding him to return. The door closes. Irina looks at the slime and asks how it could do such a thing to an innocent person. It's lucky it was Halcyon, and not someone from the estate. Slime says it's not about the divorce. Irina doesn't understand what he's talking about, and assumes he's reacting this way because of Halcyon. She insists he's just her friend. Slime asks not to leave him alone. Irina is surprised, picks him up, and says they will always be together. He asks if this is true, and Irina confirms it. Slime warns that if she abandons him, he will find this fool and destroy him. Irina is shocked and thinks he's being overly worried about the long separation. Slime notices a strange energy coming from her hands. Irina explains that it's divine power and asks if he remembers the poison. She says she got rid of it and gained this power, but asks him to keep it a secret. Slime is surprised and jokes that she stole Ruslan's power, calling her clever. Irina admits she doesn't yet know how to control it and wants to ask the priest for advice. Slime suddenly turns away. Irina asks what happened, but he replies that nothing happened. At that moment, voices are heard in the temple. Irina overhears complaints that the priests have been turned away again and wonders why the Archduke is avoiding the church. She introduces herself and says she's come to observe the training. She asks if everything is all right. Her Holiness replies that Ruslan has refused to come again. The others are outraged and speak of protesting through the Emperor. His Holiness is perplexed why Ruslan is avoiding the church, given that he was supposed to baptize the new Archduchess. Kay asks if they've met and hears that Ruslan was terrifying. Kay asks what kind of person Irina Sordi is. They tell her they don't know her personally, but they've heard the couple have a good relationship. Kay realizes this is strange and doesn't correspond to the future she knows. Ruslan is blocking access to the temple, and now she'll have to approach Irina herself. Slime asks why Irina is standing on the cold balcony. She replies that she can't sleep because Ruslan has been gone all day, and she's worried. Slime suggests he might be busy. Irina replies that's possible, but she'll still wait in case he returns. Then she admits that she's really just hurt that he left without saying anything. She realizes she's already become attached to him. Slime reassures her, saying that the Archduke will not be with the main character because he loves her very much. Irina is surprised and thinks the slime is trying to comfort her. She smiles, thanks him, and tells him he's her only friend, tugging at his cheeks. Slime asks him to stop and says he's cool. Irina laughs and suggests they go to bed together since Ruslan hasn't returned. Slime happily jumps onto the bed. Irina lies down next to him, says goodnight, and falls asleep, thinking that one day she will have to tell Ruslan about Slime. At night, she imagines someone is hugging her in the dark. She thinks it's Slime, but when she opens her eyes, she freezes. Ruslan appears in front of her, and Irina is shocked, not understanding why he is here. She notices he's naked. Ruslan opens his eyes, and Irina decides to pretend to be asleep. He quietly addresses her. He kisses her forehead, wishes her sweet dreams, and the world dissolves. Irina realizes it was just a dream.